The Justin Kinner Show. Live 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We got a jam-packed 3-hour show for you coming up here. Another domino has fallen in the world of quarterbacks in the National Football League. And, one less job is open, but technically a new one opened up, but it's filled pretty quickly. We're going to get opened up with that again. The Indianapolis Colts make the trade official with the Philadelphia Eagles, and Carson Wentz is now with the Colts. And the Colts, we knew, had a playoff caliber roster, a Super Bowl. They have, if you get the right piece in there, Super Bowl could be in the discussion for them, but I don't know if Carson Wentz is that right piece, but they are hoping, and that's what we're going to open up with here. One thing that's interesting, Kev, is that free agency, technically hasn't even started yet. The cap space, the league finally announced that the cap space is at 180, a minimum cap space of 180 now, 180 million. Mm-hmm. So now that that's in place, you're going to start to see a lot of moves start to kind of trickle down now across the board. But before any of that has even started, we've already seen Matthew Stafford traded from Detroit. Jared Goff is out of L.A. with the Rams. Breeze and Rivers is retired. Big Ben has 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. We'll talk about that around the corner as well. J.J. Watt released. Deshaun Watson wants out. Where will he end up? Who knows? I mean, there's so many dominoes that we are still waiting to be knocked down, but a couple big ones already, including Carson Wentz, now officially out of Philadelphia, now with the Indianapolis Colts. And I think that's a good thing for the Colts. The Colts are in a situation right now where they have a good run game. They have weapons on the outside. They have a great pass rush. They have great defense. They have good special teams. The only thing they're missing was a quarterback. They've basically been going quarterback by committee now for quite some time. Phillip Rivers, the latest quarterback, of course, and he retires. So now they had to look to replace him. It's an interesting strategy. Most teams who, with all that talent, Kev, and they don't have a quarterback, they just basically unload everything and start from the bottom and move up. The Colts have been stubborn. They're keeping their weapons, and they're saying, look, we'll go get a quarterback every offseason if we have to, which I don't think is that terrible of an approach. You're always going to win. You're constantly going to be in playoff contention, but it's going to take one bad offseason of not acquiring the right quarterback for it to blow up in your face. That might be this offseason. Some Colts fans are happy. I don't know how I would feel. If I'm a Browns fan and didn't have a quarterback and the Browns got Carson Wentz, there's the feeling of hope, of hoping he pans out, of hoping that, you could fix him. But right now, if you're a Colts fan, you have so many weapons. If Carson Wentz can't make it work here, he's not going to make it work anywhere. But that's very dangerous for the Colts right now, who are hoping to be in the Super Bowl conversation this coming up season.
This is the best situation for Carson Wentz. Obviously, Frank Reich was his quarterback coach and his OC during his MVP caliber year, the year that they actually won the Super Bowl. They started out 11-2 before he got hurt, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl that season with the backup quarterback. I think this is the best situation for him. I was not a fan of the Bears landing spot for him. I was a fan of the Colts. I think this is going to work out for Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts. If I'm a Colts fan, though, I am a little wary. And the reason I will be a little wary is because, he's obviously a starting level quarterback in the NFL. Yes, the last 2 years have been rocky, but he's also shown the capability to lead a team and to have an outstanding year. That's what got him the big contract. But I will be weary simply because the only two people to come knocking that we know of to Philadelphia's door to make that trade was Frank Reich, his former quarterback coach, and the Chicago Bears, who also coached under him when he was a rookie. Their head coach was on the Philadelphia staff. So those are only two teams out there. There wasn't anybody else. The Rams weren't calling him. Everybody else that's in the market for a quarterback wasn't calling him. Only two teams were really in the market for him. So I would be a little wary of that, as well as, there's a lot of reports about him, his locker room presence. And once he got benched, he just flipped out and then demanded a trade and everything like that. So I'll be worried about those type of things if I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan. But on the bright side, and that's the place I would live, is, hey, man, has had his best success under our head coach. Let's roll the dice. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, and again, we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. You can jump in on the conversation. Again, Carson Wentz now with the Indianapolis Colts. The trade is official. ESPN's Adam Schefter earlier today tweeted out that Philadelphia has agreed to trade Carson Wentz to the Colts in exchange for a 2021 third-round pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick that could turn into a first, league sources told Mortensen and him. And again, that some of those, how it could turn into a first. I think he has to start to get 75% of the snaps, and they have to make the playoffs. If he starts for 75% of the snaps and makes the playoffs, that third round pick turns into a second round pick, or the second round pick turns into a first round pick for 2022. So I like the safety net that's in there to kind of protect the Colts a little bit. What
do you think about the compensation for him?
I think some still think that's high. I think that's about right. He was not worth the first rounder. I thought Stafford, that deal was a steal for the Lions. The Lions made out really good in that. If you take out this past year for Wentz a year ago, we'd be saying that, this was disrespectful, that he was worth. I mean, a year ago, we would have said he was worth the first round pick with the mindset of maybe not worth the first round pick because you got to be wary about his health issues. But outside of that, talent-wise, from what we saw the first 3 years, I would have said a year ago, this is about right, or maybe they should have gotten more. But right now, they're lucky they got anything because it's not just the on-the-field play that's the concern, it's the attitude. The stories I heard today, which I found fascinating, he did throw a fit behind the scenes that was not made public during the season. And on the day that they were announcing that Jalen Hurts was going to be the starter, everyone was real excited for Jalen, was excited for him. You know how exciting it is for a rookie to make his first start. And
I've been there plenty of times.
He leaked. He leaked it to the media. Him and his agent are the ones that leaked the benching to the media before they could announce that Jalen would be the starter. So basically ruining the he couldn't even enjoy it. And They just said that was done maliciously. He did not leave on good terms. And if you're the Colts welcoming in, I get it. Like, you want to feel excited about this. But, I mean, there are a lot of concerns about the attitude behind the scenes. Everything listening to throughout the day is you learn a lot about how quarterbacks handle adversity and how they bounce back. If you look at a lot of the young quarterbacks in the league, how do they handle adversity? Some handle it, some don't. Baker Mayfield has proven to be able to handle it. Really good, played really well his rookie year. Really bad his second year. He had every excuse to not work hard last offseason and just, let the pressure pile up on him. He didn't have to perform at the level he did this year. He could have let the pressure eat him alive, and he responded. And you feel good about that. The Browns feel good about that moving forward, that they watched him face adversity and how he handled it. You're going to learn about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a great 9-11 game run with the Bengals, has a season-ending injury. How does he respond to that? How does he handle that, come back and represent himself? We're going to learn. You look at Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins has had a very bumpy start to his career. He might be the starter for your Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to get to that conversation around the corner. But how does he handle adversity? He's already handled a couple of different situations of adversity. The bottom line is we've already seen Carson Wentz doesn't handle it well. And that's the concern I would have if I'm the Colts. Steve Stetler on Facebook says, Wentz taking the Colts to the Super Bowl. Come on, man. Never said that. I said that the Colts had every weapon you needed to be a Super Bowl contender. That's their thinking. If you just get the right quarterback in there, boom, they're it. We're right now discussing if that's Carson Wentz. I don't think it is. I don't think the Colts are Super Bowl contenders. I'm not even sure if Carson Wentz makes them better next year than what they were this year. Phillip Rivers had a very good year for the Colts. It was a old, dried-out version of Phillip Rivers, but he stopped turning the ball over around the halfway point of the season and played very efficiently for the rest of the season. So if I'm the Colts, I don't know how to feel about this. I think you should feel excited because anytime you get a new quarterback, you feel like that was done to help set you right moving forward. We'll see. But do I think that the Colts are better with him than what they were a year ago with Phillip Rivers? I do not.
I think about the same. I think their record would probably be about the same. What they were like 11-5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So if they go 11-5, then what? I would be happy because he's a younger quarterback and he's a capable quarterback. I think right now, right at this moment, whenever you get a capable quarterback on your team, he's better than anybody you're going to be drafting. Unless you were going to give up the farm and go jump to the number 1 spot or the number 2 spot. You know what I'm saying? So he's better than any quarterback that you're probably going to go draft. You have a relationship with him via your head coach. I think it's a good play for the Colts. I think it's a great play for Carson Wentz to get out of the situation he was in Philadelphia. And what in the world went on in Philly? Like, dude, they just won the Super Bowl. They were just winning. They were just beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Everything was clicking. And now
you have nothing to show for it. I mean, hold on. You have the Super Bowl, yes. Which, big picture, I think if you're any team out there,
it's all worth it.
It's all worth it. If I was to tell the Bengals, you're going to win the Super Bowl this coming up year, but for the next 10 years after that, you're going to be the worst team in football. Would you accept it? Yes, you would. The Browns, same thing. Hey, you're going to win the Super Bowl next season, but after that, you are going to be the worst. If you could had a crystal ball and could see into the future, if you accept the Super Bowl this coming up season, you're going to be garbage for the next 10 years. And it's like, okay, well, we're back to normal, but we at least got our damn Super Bowl. That's kind of where the Eagles are at right now. You don't have Carson Wentz. You don't have Doug Peterson, Nick Foles, who was the backup quarterback, who basically led you to the Super Bowl. And he didn't just fill in as a backup. He literally won Super Bowl MVP. He threw for 300 yards multiple occasions throughout the playoffs. I mean, he was the real deal. I mean, the bottom line is that there's nothing left of that. What you can't. So the question is, was it a failure in Philadelphia? I don't think so. They won a Super Bowl. I don't know if you can label it as a failure, but the caveat here is Carson Wentz wasn't the quarterback that led you through the playoffs and led you over Tom Brady and the Patriots to win the Super Bowl that year.
I mean, Zach Ertz, the tight end, he's on the market as well. Like the whole team is over. That regime is over, and it's just it's difficult to look at because you look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year they went 8-8, and everybody's like, man, what's wrong with the Steelers? Well, Big Ben was hurt. Then Big Ben comes back, they start off 11-0, and then they falter down the back end. But it's like, man, that was a good bounce back season compared they didn't win or make the playoffs the other year. We've seen things go on with the Ravens, looked like they were headed to firing their head coach, and then they plug in Lamar Jackson, and boom, the Ravens are back where they're supposed to be. Like this Philadelphia thing, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a overnight fix like it was with Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens.
That cap hit is like 30-something million. It's the largest cap hit in NFL history, and that still hits Philadelphia. It doesn't hit the Colts. They take on his contract, but the cap hit's still going to hit Philly.
Yikes.
And you know who I feel bad for here at all of this? Jalen Hurts. Because I think he has what it takes to be successful in the NFL, but he has nothing left. They're going to lose a lot of games. And I think his career.
How about that head coach?
I think no kidding. I think that his career is over before it starts. It's a bad situation, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. The Eagles are not going to piece this roster together to win this coming up season. Their goal is to have the number one pick next year. But let's keep in mind, all the quarterbacks that came out this year, Kev, I have no clue who the premier quarterbacks are for next season. I mean, are we going to talk about the kid from Georgia? Mike, what's his name? Daniels, JT Daniels.
JT Daniels, Slovis from USC.
So good quarterbacks, but those aren't Justin Fields type quarterbacks. Those are not Trevor Lawrence level quarterbacks. Hell, Mac Jones, others. Any of those guys would be good for Philadelphia right now. None of those guys are going to exist in next year's draft. So their quarterback, they could end up having the worst season of all this coming up year, have the number one pick, and probably not even have a quarterback to select next season. Maybe Jalen Hurts is their guy moving forward. But my fear is they're going to ruin him. He's not going to perform well. They're going to give up on him. And then he's going to be a casualty of all the disaster behind the scenes that started with Carson Wentz. Just not a pretty scene.
They have the 6th pick in the draft, and you're talking about Jamar Chase, Fields, or Caleb Fairley, the cornerback from Virginia Tech. So it's like a lot of options out there for them. But I'm much like you, man. I do worry about Jalen Hurts and the whole situation going on there, and I really worry about that coach, man. Like, obviously, I don't know who he is, but that press conference was almost bad as Adam Gase's press conference, where Adam Gase was out there looking like he was high as a kite. Like, that press conference was terrible. I would go grab Jamar Chase or any offensive weapon, whoever's the best wide receiver available. I always say this, man. If you're going to suck, at least be entertaining and be fun to watch. Just put everything on offense, man. Just put everything on offense and do what you do, man. Give them some weapons.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We're going to open up the phone lines, 457-9464. Who won the Carson Wentz trade? My answer, the Cleveland Browns. Who won the Carson Wentz trade? I say the Cleveland Browns. I'll tell you why on the other side, but be thinking about that. We'll open up the phone lines. For any Colts fans out there, I definitely want to hear from you. Is this an exciting day, or is this we'll see how this unfolds. How excited are you Colts fans out there for this move and this trade? Again, we've seen Matthew Stafford traded from the Lions to the Rams in exchange for Jared Goff. The next quarterback on the move, Carson Wentz, no longer a Philadelphia Eagle, now under center for the Indianapolis Colts. Who won the Carson Wentz trade? I'll tell you why I believe it's the Cleveland Browns when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with snow, a high near 28. Tonight's going to be cloudy with a chance of snow, a low around 12. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy with flurries, a high near 24. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Gary is refinancing his home, so he shopped around for the lowest rate and found it at Amerisave.com, setting him up for a lifetime of savings. It's one decision he'll never regret, unlike taking that gig in the testing lab at the deodorant company.
Raise your arm, please. Oh, man, I hate this job.
Pretty regrettable, Gary. Unlike finding that low mortgage rate at Amerisave.com that's got you on your way to a lifetime of savings. Amerisave's rates won't be this low forever, so go to Amerisave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings. Call 866-514-SAVE or visit Amerisave.com/licensing for cost information, terms, and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all states except New York. NMLS number 1168.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune into Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
O'Reilly. Need new wiper blades? Not sure which ones to buy? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. We'll show you options for your specific car and even install them for free. Right now, save $10 per pair on Bosch Focus wiper blades, plus earn double O Rewards points. There's no better time to replace your wiper blades. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Paid for by Protect My Car. Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary. Call for details.
These days, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV made from $19.99 or higher, you could stop paying for car repairs. That's right. You might not have to pay a penny to have it repaired. Just call 800-998-0633 now to see if you qualify. You must have an automobile made from $19.99 or higher, and all repairs for your engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past. Call 800-998-0633 today and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. That's right, total protection for your car and no more repair bills. Plus, call 800-998-0633 right now and get free roadside assistance, free towing, free car rental, and free oil changes. Call 800-998-0633 right now to see if your car qualifies. That's 800-998-0633. Never pay for car repairs again. Just call 800-998-0633. 800-998-0633.
O'Reilly. Need new wiper blades? Not sure which ones to buy? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. We'll show you options for your specific car and even install them for free. Right now, save $10 per pair on Bosch Focus wiper blades, plus earn double O Rewards points. There's no better time to replace your wiper blades. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Western Ohio Home Builders Association and 84 Lumber invite you to the Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through the 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Your favorite home improvement specialists and landscape designers all under one roof. If this is your year to upgrade your home's interior or exterior, you do not want to miss this show. Local experts will be on hand to discuss your home improvement project. The Miami County Home and Garden Show, February 19th through February 21st at Hobart Arena in Troy. Online at MiamiCountyHomeshow.com.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Ugh, nothing's worse than starting trouble. We can help you out. We can start with a free battery test. That way we'll know if your battery is causing the issue. It could be your starter or your alternator. You don't want to waste money on the wrong fix. And if you do need a new battery, we've got you covered with a wide selection of replacement batteries. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2019.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune into Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
1410 ESPN Radio is Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes on the hardwood. Football may be over, but basketball is just heating up. Support Chris Holtman and his Buckeyes as they battle it out in the toughest conference in all of college basketball, the Big Ten. Every dribble, every shot, every Buckeyes win. Catch it all right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The big question I have for everybody after the big blockbuster, well, no, forget that. It's not a blockbuster trade. I need to stop referring. I don't even think the Carson. I hate when people say blockbuster trade, and I think I just fell into the same trap that a lot of media members do, is that they like to use that for these big trades. It's a newsworthy trade. I don't think it's a blockbuster trade. Look, I don't even think that the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade was a blockbuster deal. Not even close, but it was referenced as a blockbuster trade involving the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams. I'm like, no. That was not a blockbuster trade. And
what's a blockbuster trade to you then?
You have to have hell, in the NBA, you could trade, like when Drummond gets traded from the Cavs to wherever he ends up. Let's say he gets traded for, I'm trying to think of another role player elsewhere, but like that won't be a blockbuster trade. But like when, LeBron, LeBron's never been traded, but like star player, when James Harden was officially traded, that's a blockbuster trade. And in the NFL, when Deshaun Watson gets traded, if he gets traded, that's a blockbuster trade. I don't believe that Carson Wentz is deserving of being considered involved in a blockbuster trade. Besides, he went for a second and third round pick. To me, that ain't a blockbuster trade.
Right. Yeah. I could see where someone could say a blockbuster trade with Matthew Stafford simply because the Rams gave up 2 first-round picks. Like,
that was my next point. So you just took that from me right there. Because of what they got, that would maybe categorize it.
But I'm with you. The blockbuster thing, because
it needs a shock and awe.
Yeah, the blockbuster part of it is the name. You know what I'm saying? Like, those names are all right. They ain't nothing, to write home about. And the picks, those are just placeholders until they actually are drafted, and even once they're drafted, we don't know who they are until they get on the field. So I'm with you. I look at blockbuster as more as the names of the guys being traded as opposed to the draft capital that they get traded for.
Yeah. And why do they call it a blockbuster trade? Not this one necessarily. Why is the term blockbuster trade? Like, blockbuster to me is where you get your videotapes and your microwave popcorn and a video game.
Good old days, man.
If your parents were nice enough. I mean, I remember, hell, it was Blockbuster. But when I lived in El Paso growing up, the video game movie rental place was Major Players. That was the name of it. And you literally, and I think you still can at some of these places, but you can go and drop money on the counter and you could rent out an Xbox or a console that you can go play for. Hell, it was N64 when I was a kid. I'd go to Major Players and I would rent the Nintendo 64 and I would play the video games on Nintendo 64. You'd have to rent out the consoles because I was poor. We couldn't afford the video game consoles. So anytime I'd get my allowance saved up, I would walk to Major Players and drop the money on the counter, and I would rent the Nintendo 64 for an hour. It's the fastest hour of my life.
Oh, they rented it by the hour?
By the hour.
Oh, my goodness. The place in my hometown of Cleveland, it was Arrow Videos. It was right up the street from us. And
you paid for a half hour?
No. It was, you rented for the weekend.
Oh, no, you couldn't leave with it. They set it up for you over on the side.
You get to take it home, and you get to rent it for the weekend. I'm a little bit older.
I grew up in El Paso, man. They weren't letting you bring that home.
Hey, we played on the regular Nintendo, but older people know about this. The track and field game with the trackpad that you actually ran on in place, and your character ran with you. So we would go up there, rent the track and field game and the trackpad for the weekend, and just set it up in the living room. And what made my house so cool, my mom was a nurse and she worked the third shift. So in the summertime, Friday nights, Saturday nights, my house is the spot. Everybody coming over with said popcorn, movies going on. The younger kids like myself, we were playing Nintendo in my room. It was great.
So to sum up, why the hell they call it a blockbuster trade is beyond me. But no, I don't classify this as that. Now, here's why, and I asked the question. And head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. You can jump in on the conversation that way or give us a call at 457-9464. Who won the Carson Wentz trade? And anytime there's a big trade like this, you start asking who won. For one, if you want to just involve the two teams involved, did the Eagles or the Colts win? I don't think anybody won here. I think this is an experimental thing. This reminds me of in Major League Baseball when you sign older veterans to minor league contracts, or when you take a guy who you had one or two good seasons and then had one or two bad seasons and you give him a minor league deal in baseball just to see if you invite him to camp and maybe his stuff comes back. Maybe you could fix him and all of a sudden he's good. This reminds me of like a baseball type, Cincinnati Reds type move. We're going to find some guy on the scrap heap. We're going to give him a minor league deal. And then all of a sudden he becomes good and then they take credit for it. That's what this is to me. I don't think anyone won this deal here, Kev. For one, the Eagles didn't win just because you got rid of Carson Wentz and you got rid of that contract. You didn't get rid of the cap hit and you have no flexibility right now.
Right.
The reason that they're having to get rid of Kelsey and others is not just because they're completely hitting the reset button. They would like to have weapons to be able to help Jalen Hurts, but they have to give up those other guys because of the massive, the historic cap hit that they're facing thanks to Carson Wentz. So they definitely didn't win. Just moving on from Carson Wentz, it's not a win for them. And the Colts getting Carson Wentz, we can't decide if they won this trade or not until later on.
Yeah.
The Colts might lose this trade if he ends up being as bad next year as he was last year and you actually gave up some decent draft capital for him.
It reminds me of how the situation ended with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown left the Steelers, but they still owed a big number on his cap. It says a lot about a player that they're willing to take that big cap hit and still get rid of you. Like, that's crazy to me. But, I'm not in those organizations or locker rooms and they feel like something is fractured and they have to get rid of those players to regain some type of control and try to get back on the winning side of football. I'm going to say the Colts won ultimately because it was Carson Wentz or Jacoby Brissett. And the word now is they're trying to trade Jacoby Brissett back to the Patriots. And if they're out there basically with me starting at quarterback, obviously Carson Wentz is better than him.
I mean, and that's interesting too. And look, he never really got back into the light of being the Colts starter. And he's kind of taken some bumps along the way.
I don't know why.
He was never terrible.
I'm with you.
His best season was still better than Carson Wentz. Not Carson Wentz's best MVP caliber season in 2017, but Wentz, that was it for him. You take that one good year out, and after that, he's been very, very average. So
I think it's like you said, these coaches and organizations are looking for that wow. Jacoby Brissett is not wow. Jacoby Brissett is move the chains. And it's been proven that quarterbacks that move the chains, like a Jacoby Brissett, like Jimmy G, they can win games in this league. But organizations want that wow. They want the big time arm. They want all these wild things. And like it or not, Carson Wentz is going to sell jerseys there in Indianapolis. So I think it's something to deal with that as well. Like those wild type of players and things that they can get you over the hump and win those games in between that Jacoby Brissett is unable to win. Like Jacoby Brissett, maybe a 9-7 quarterback. They're looking at Carson Wentz to give them 2 extra victories.
It's the Teddy Bridgewater type deal. It's an Andy Dalton type deal. It's him. By the way, Andy Dalton, I'm telling you now, if the Colts got Andy Dalton, I would feel more excited for the Colts if they got Andy Dalton than what they're getting with Carson Wentz.
Wow.
Like, I have zero confidence in Carson Wentz.
You don't say.
I've never bought into Carson Wentz. I just never have. Even when he was playing well with Philly, they had a top 5 defense, And again, when your best season ended with your backup leading your team to a Super Bowl, and your backup not just leading him to a Super Bowl, I mean, literally leading him there, literally winning the Super Bowl MVP. I think big picture, would you take Nick Foles over Carson Wentz? No. But I don't think that you get to, it reminds me of the Buckeyes championship in 2014, big picture, JT Barrett, if he doesn't get hurt at Michigan, or the Buckeyes national champions in 2014. I've been on record as saying no, and I'm going to stick to that. I don't think so. I don't think Ohio State's trash with JT Barrett, but I think Cardale Jones, his arm and playmaking ability opened it up, and that's why they were able to take it to that next level. I don't really have any good analysis of why all of a sudden it worked and clicked for Nick Foles. He got hot. We've seen quarterbacks get hot in the National Football League before, then they kind of fizzle out. Who knows? But for me, the team that won this trade, the Carson Wentz trade, I'm not doing this just to be that Browns homer, but the Browns won this trade. The Browns won this trade for the standpoint of, we told you. Paul DePodesta, and I always butcher that name, but again, he's one of the executives in the Browns front office at the time. Remember when the Browns passed on Carson Wentz and got destroyed for passing on Carson Wentz. Remember that. And he said that he wouldn't even take that he was not a top 20 pick. And everyone ripped the Browns. They ripped him. And ultimately, the Eagles traded up to take Carson Wentz. And the Browns got like multiple first-round picks. I mean, like he got torched for basically saying that he was not even worth the top 20 pick. And now all of a sudden you look at it, the Browns, get all those picks in return. The Eagles are $30 million in dead cap space now. To me, the Browns won that trade. Because had they taken Carson Wentz, they would be in a lot more trouble than what they were those couple seasons after. And ultimately, it's kind of funny how Baker Mayfield ended up being the better situation for them. So I say the Browns win it from that standpoint of looking at everyone saying, see, we're not completely, useless as far as that goes. We're getting some Facebook reaction here. Vincent Waller says Carson Wentz won the trade, going to a better team with a coach that had success with him before. That's a good way to put it. Fair. I said who won the Carson Wentz trade. Where I was looking at it from a team perspective, but Vincent, you're 1,000,000% right. Actually, in a situation where there's not really many winners, if any, Carson Wentz is actually the winner. He's the only one that has – this isn't a shot for him because if he stayed in Philly, he wasn't starting, and it wasn't good behind the scenes with him in Philly. Him going to Indianapolis, he is the starter. He's with the coach that he had success with early on, and it's a chance to get his starting job back and to prove the doubters wrong. So, yes, I agree, Vincent.
Yeah.
That he is the winner overall. My smartest answer, the Browns, had some merit, but ultimately between these two teams, I'm going to go with Carson Wentz winning that to a big picture. I don't think the Colts won it. I don't think the Eagles won this, but that's a good answer. Carson Wentz ultimately won this trade, getting an opportunity to go to a good team. A good team. The Colts are a really good team. Eric Pugh on Facebook says they lost when they traded the dude that won them a Super Bowl and kept Wentz. They could have traded Wentz and maybe another Super Bowl. So, Eric, are you saying that the Eagles screwed up by trading away Nick Foles, who I think at the time the Jaguars got him, paid him I think like $25 million. I mean, it was
for 1 year.
Was it 1 year?
It was a multiple year contract, but ultimately he was only with the Jags for 1 year.
Yeah, but I'm curious about the length of the contract at the time because you're right. He was traded to the Bears this past offseason, which ultimately led to another quarterback controversy for Nick Foles. It follows him everywhere. With Trubisky there. But he goes on to say, you don't trade a Super Bowl MVP. Think how crazy that sounds. Traded a Super Bowl MVP. What's more valuable, Kevin? MVP? Because that year he didn't win MVP. I'm talking about Wentz.
Right.
But he had an MVP caliber season.
Right.
I mean, I think we overvalue Super Bowl. I mean, a Super Bowl MVP, don't get me wrong, it's a great title. Eric, I disagree. I'm not saying that Super Bowl MVPs don't mean nothing, but that's an award for one game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the big picture. And ultimately, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want a guy that I could trust for the full regular season to even get you to the game to have a chance to win it. Nick Foles isn't it for me from a full season standpoint. That's why it didn't last long in Jacksonville. Didn't work in Chicago.
On March 13th, 2019, Foles signed a 4-year contract worth $88 million with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It was how long?
19. It was a 4-year contract for $88 million. Foles was traded to Chicago Bears in exchange for compensation, 4th-round pick on March 31st. 2020.
So a 4-year deal. Okay, that was, and good for Nick Foles for getting that, by the way. The Jaguars, how dumb was that, by the way? I don't care. And Eric, I know that you put a lot of stock in that Super Bowl MVP, and it's not that he did it, it's the way he did it. He outplayed, well, Tom Brady threw for like 400 yards at Super Bowl. It's not like he outplayed Tom Brady, but he came out on top over Tom Brady, which is tough to do. Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. Eric goes on to say, I think sometimes places make players.
I think what he's trying to say is
Foles came in and put it together.
The right situation. You know, you get involved with the right coordinator and the right offense, and it works for you. And we've seen that with Nick Foles. Like, it's obvious. Like, he was all right when he was with the Rams. He was all right with Philly, but then you had that run, that magical run, and you got everything with those guys and everything clicked. Then you went to Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't have those coaches. You don't have that comfortable situation you were in. You stink. You go to the Bears. You stink. Like, it can be as simple as that sometimes. We got to recognize that coaching, like it did with the Browns, it matters. Coaches matter.
Man, so for the Eagles to trade up to get Carson Wentz, they gave the Browns 2 first-rounders, a second-rounder, a third, and a fourth back in 2016. And a lot of those by the Browns were later moved, some used, but a lot of those, one of those ultimately led to Deshaun Watson and some other, a lot of those, picks ended up being used, not by the Browns, but being sent elsewhere nonetheless. All right, folks, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. I appreciate the input on Facebook. Overall, my favorite answer at this point, Vincent, yes, Carson Wentz ultimately wins this trade because if he doesn't get traded here, his career, I'm not saying is over, but it's going to be, backup role moving forward. So we'll see. All good, Eric. He said, yeah, exactly, Kevin. Sorry, typo.
No
see, that's what Kevin's here for, And I'm the jerk that reads the error and then makes you sound dumb. My bad, Eric. My bad. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We will step away for a few moments, and we'll stay in the land of the NFL right here because I want to talk about Kev's Steelers a little bit. We all know that Big Ben is willing to take less money to return to the Steelers next season, but does his team even want him back? After Kevin and I talked about this yesterday, an article came out after the presser yesterday with the Steelers GM Kevin Colbert in the media. His comments have raised a lot of eyebrows regarding Pittsburgh's 2021 quarterback situation. We'll discuss that next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Are you ready for tax season? Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services is ready for you. If you want to come in person, it's a safe environment, or you can just drop off. Belmont Tax also provides a completely virtual, secure client portal. For business or personal, if you want the accurate deductions you deserve, contact Belmont Tax in Dayton and Eaton. Go to BelmontBCTXS.com. BelmontBCTXS.com.
The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 special financial relief assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission information at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/news. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Ohio State Buckeyes are going to be in action tonight, at least on the hardwood, that is. College basketball action tonight here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Ohio State and Penn State. 7:15 the pregame, 8 o'clock the tip-off, and Ohio State, the number 4 team in the country. In fact, if the season ended right now and the NCAA tournament field was starting to be built, Ohio State would be a 1 seed as we currently sit here today. And they got a little bit, not a little bit. Tonight's a perfect definition of a trap game. Finally, we have an Ohio State-Michigan matchup coming up this weekend that actually means something. I can't tell you the last time I've said Ohio State, Michigan with a lot on the line. There's usually nothing on the line, especially in football as of late, but on basketball, as we're going to talk with Adam Jardy, who covers the Buckeyes here in a little bit. He's with the Columbus Dispatch, does a fantastic job covering the Buckeyes. He's going to hang out with us a bit. But Ohio State, Michigan coming up on Sunday, a top 5 matchup between number 5 Michigan, number 4 Ohio State, and that's going to be a big one coming up this weekend. So we're excited about that. But tonight's a trap game. You got Penn State, and Penn State's been a thorn in the side of Ohio State in years past. But this is a perfect definition of a trap game, Kev, where you have a big time top 5 showdown with Michigan coming up on Sunday. But you got to get through this game tonight first. This game worries me a bit, but to be fair, a lot of these Chris Holtmann teams over the years lose these types of games, but this team's not doing that. They're winning the games that they should have. They're beating the Marylands. They're beating the teams that they should. In years past, you can never figure out the Chris Holtmann teams. You knew they were good. They would kick ass in the non-conference. I mean, they've been beating the Kentuckys and North Carolinas of the world. They've been beating all these big time, the Villanovas and Cincinnatis. They've been taking care of business since Chris Holtmann arrived. But then they would beat some of the best Big Ten teams and lose to some of the worst. And you can never really get a good feel of who the Buckeyes are. And I think this is a big one tonight for them. They have to get this win. They need to get this win to take that momentum into the game with Michigan on Sunday. That a 1 seed could be on the line come Sunday when those two teams go head to head.
This is a big game simply because it's the next game. Cliche. Ring the
Typical.
bell. But I'll say
Outlier
this.
Kev, right
I'll say this. I know it's going to sound so stupid. I'm overlooking this game just like the players are. Like the game that I care about is versus that team up north on Sunday. And I know that if I feel like that, they feel like that as well. And it's up to the coaches to make sure they don't. But the thing about basketball, which is totally different from football, is it doesn't really matter if Ohio State loses this game to Penn State, because they still got another one versus Michigan. So if they lose this one and then beat Michigan, they're exactly where they want to be anyway. So I can't get too down if they lose this game, as long as they win on Sunday versus Michigan.
Nope, totally with you on that. And keep in mind, and I'm glad you said that. I hate when coaches get mad at media when they say, hey, it's a trap game situation. No, I mean, we're totally focused on tonight's game. Like Chris Holtmann over the week or earlier in the week, they said, hey, you're prepping for Penn State and Michigan, or have you spent time this week maybe prepping a little bit more for Michigan than Penn State? Oh no. Like, how dare you even ask that question? I mean, he was just so appalled that someone would even think that. And I'm like, no, that's exactly what you're doing. You can't, if me and you, Kev, can sit there and feel that Penn State, the game doesn't mean as much as the game coming up this weekend, that's not like a crazy thing to feel. Like the players feel it. And the coaches have a job of making sure that they rechannel that energy and regather their focus to make sure that they do realize how important this game is tonight. So I hate when coaches do that. I know it's coach speak. That's why interviewing coaches sometimes is just pointless, because they don't tell you anything and they get annoyed with everything that you ask. They try to make you feel like, you're asking a dumb question, but really you're asking a question that has an answer that you're not going to give them. It's a waste of time to interview coaches half the time anyways. But in this situation tonight, yes, it's a trap game. I am worried about tonight's game, but man, they win this like they're supposed to. That one on Sunday, that's huge. I can't remember the last time these two good of Michigan Ohio State teams went head to head, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't remember either, because when Michigan made their little Final Four run, we were average at best. I believe that was the D'Angelo Russell years, that when Michigan was making their run to the Final Four with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Trey Burke and those guys. So I think that was that. And then when we were out there with Aaron Kraft and the guys, they were down. So yeah, it's funny to think about it like that whenever one is up, the other one's just kind of like average. But you brought up an important Ohio State-Michigan game. And of course, can you believe it's all the way back in 2016? That was the overtime game. 2016, you say it out loud. Oh, man, that was just 2016. But then you say, man, wait, it's 2021.
Yeah, the Buckeyes football team hasn't won a national title in 7 years.
Yeah. We haven't won a national title in 7 years, and they haven't had a good game with us since that game, since 16. That sucks.
Well, this was this past season. It was the closest that they were able to keep that game.
0-0 tie.
That's all you can ask for. But we're going to have Adam Jardy coming up with the Columbus Dispatch at 4:00. We'll dive more into some college basketball. I want to discuss why the Big Ten all of a sudden, why are so many Big Ten teams just taking off, and some of your traditional powers like Duke and North Carolina, Kentucky, and others taking a step back. We'll discuss that with him as comparing Chris Holtmann to Thad Matta and the coaching styles and recruiting styles. That's all going to be coming up here 15 minutes from now. But I wanted to talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers, Kev.
Hey.
So yesterday we talked about this. Yesterday we literally talked about this exact same situation without knowing that there was a press conference going on that featured their general manager in Colbert,
mm-hmm.
and Kevin Colbert, general manager for the Steelers, in a press conference yesterday had some comments regarding the future of Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. Now, yesterday when you and I discussed this, I feel like Big Ben's going to take a massive pay cut because he came out and said it. Not that that means anything, but I do think emotionally he does want to come back and play. I think think that some players are one of those where they want to ride off into the sunset and not make a big deal about it. And I think others want to know, okay, I know I'm heading into my last year. I know that this is going to be it. I think it's a way, it helps with the closure of a great career. I don't think Big Ben wants the Browns loss being, not because it's the Browns, but the way they lost to the Browns. I don't think he wants that to be the lasting memory, sitting on the bench with his hands in his hand warmers with Pouncey sitting next to him. I don't think he wants that to be the lasting memory of him in a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. So ultimately I thought, he's going to take the pay cut. He's going to do what he has to do to return to Pittsburgh. But never in a million years would I thought that with a player willing to take less money, that a team would come out and almost sound as if they have no interest in bringing this individual back. I get it. In sports, we do this all the time where like yesterday, we had our heated back and forth about the NBA and the way that they treat players. And my big take on that is always, well, it's business and it's cutthroat and you're not always going to make everyone happy all the time. And yet I'm, looking at this situation where I'm like, at Pittsburgh, how could you do that? It's Big Ben, but it's cutthroat. It's business. That's what you have to do. Now, Kevin Colbert, the general manager for the Steelers, was asked about Big Ben's status heading into the 2021 season. Here's what he had to say. He says, as we sit here today, I love that line. As we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thanks for wasting our time with that quote. No kidding. I wish I could swear on the air more. I would love to say something else. No blank. So as we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Colbert said. He reiterated that to us that he wants to continue to play, and we told him, quite frankly, we have to look at the current situation. Not, we love to have you back. Not, we'll make it work. Not, nothing, no reassurance whatsoever. It's, we're going to have to look at the current situation. With Ben's current cap number, okay, some adjustment will have to be made. So some adjustment will have to be made. Again, no blank, okay? No blank. This is a very telling, like he didn't say much, but that's what he didn't say is louder than what he could have said. And to me, that is, and by the way, let's just be honest, I don't care. They shouldn't bring him back. From a business perspective, you can't bring him back. $40 million would be the cap hit at that number. Even though the lowest cap hit that they're going to face, Kev, is still $23 million. Even if they restructure it to where he's making the vet minimum, it's going to be a $23 million cap hit. So that's where, again, from a business perspective, don't bring him back. But it's bigger than that, and I get that. But we've seen that this team and others, they've let better talent walk out. They let Antonio Brown go. They knew what they have with Le'Veon Bell. They could have easily paid Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell what they wanted, and they could have kept that going. Probably another Super Bowl in there somewhere. Probably, or at least a Super Bowl appearance, right? There was maybe another Super Bowl within that trio a Super Bowl within that trio if you keep them together. They let those two who were much better at the time that they left than what Big Ben is now if they let him walk. If I'm Big Ben, I'm a little worried. I don't know if Big Ben is the quarterback for the Steelers in 2021, and I can't remember the last time with Charlie Bash, the last time that we were wondering who the hell the quarterback was going to be for the Steelers pre-Big Ben. Cordell Stewart, it's a very strange situation.
Let me first say this. Everybody that listens to this show knows I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fanatic. I love my Pittsburgh Steelers. I love my quarterback, Big Ben. But a person about the organization I don't love at all is Kevin Colbert. He's our general manager. He's been our general manager for like 21 years, made some great draft picks, yada, 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 doing his job, all that good stuff. But he says a lot of bonehead things. Like, you guys remember earlier in the college football season, he said something along the lines of, yeah, if you opt out, we're not drafting you to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shut up. Shut up. That is a dumb thing to say. Because if Micah Parsons was somehow to fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers and they don't draft him, they're stupid. If somehow Trevor Lawrence was to fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers or any other great player that opted out or whatever, and they don't draft him, he's stupid. So that's a stupid thing to say. And that's not the first time he said stupid stuff. He says stupid stuff all the time. And this is another thing that he said stupid. You're treating Ben Roethlisberger like he's Jared Goff. Like he hasn't been with the organization since he was 22 years old, and he didn't lead you to 3 Super Bowls and help you win 2 of those Super Bowls. You act like this dude didn't come back after ripping his elbow to shreds to come back and help guide the team to the playoffs. Yeah, it ended horrible. The back half of the season was terrible. But yes, don't forget they did win 11 straight. And
also not him. Yeah, not on Big Ben. Yeah, he threw for more yards than anyone else I think he led the league in yards in total yards.
He
pass attempts, everything.
Passing the ball way too much because Kevin Colbert, you didn't get enough offensive linemen, and you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. So now, with all that said about Kevin Colbert, that I dislike him and he's a bonehead and he says a lot of stupid stuff, I'll also say this about my quarterback. Yes, he's on the twilight of his career. And this is how most of these situations end. I've been saying it with Drew Brees for a long time that his arm was shot. It looks like it's finally going to come to an end for Drew Brees. Looks like, Ben, you are teetering on your arm being shot and you might need to hang it up. With all that being said, you treat your Hall of Fame quarterback, you treat your guy with some respect. You don't treat him just like he's just a guy on the team. He's not just a guy. Remember when Peyton Manning left the Colts? Jim Irsay was out there talking. I remember when Tony Romo retired. I remember Jerry Jones dang near about to cry.
That's my quarterback.
And Tony Romo never made it to a Super Bowl, let alone won one. So you're out here bashing him because that's what this is. You better take what we give them type of attitude. You can have that dialogue. I may not like it, but ultimately, like you said, Kenner, it's business. But there's a certain way to treat your quarterback and a certain way to treat your big time receivers. I even remember when Hines Ward retired. He was nowhere to be found. Kevin Colbert didn't speak. Mike Tomlin spoke. Mr. Rooney spoke. Kevin Colbert didn't speak on a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, Hines Ward. Hines Ward was an MVP of a Super Bowl for the team, and you said nothing. So, yeah, you could treat it as a business, and ultimately that's fine. But when you have guys like this who will go down in history, not only for the NFL, but more importantly, your franchise, who's going to have their name and jersey retired, you treat them with some respect. You use tactical words. Like these words that he used, those are cold. Those are just cold-hearted words. It's just business, matter of fact. Big Ben, yes, Big Ben's a drama queen. No doubt about it. Ben loves the drama. He loves flailing around and getting up like he's hurt. Oh, man, I'm hurt. Oh, gotcha. Touchdown. Like, he loves doing that. There ain't no doubt about it. I can't front. That's how Ben is. But at the end of the day, you got to treat this dude with some respect. He's not the backup to the backup. He's not Mason Rudolph. He's not Duck Hodges. He's Ben Roethlisberger. Treat him with some respect and say, hey, man, we're trying to work things out with Big Ben. That we have every intention to try to work things out with him. You don't have to put it out there like that. You ain't got to put him out there.
You're not
like
saying
that.
Bringing him back next year. You're saying just the way you're presenting it.
Yeah, those are the same words that the GM used with
Jared Goff.
With the Rams.
I mean, or the Rams. What did I say? Jared Goff and the Rams. You're right. When he addressed the media, he said, "Well, as of today, Jared Goff is a Ram."
What is Ben supposed to think about that? Ben's just supposed to be like, "Oh yeah, it's cool. Come on, let's sign a contract for $5 million when I was supposed to get 42. Yeah, it's all good. Pittsburgh Steelers is cool." No, he's got feelings. He has an ego. More importantly, he ain't get to this place of a star quarterback on one of the biggest franchises in the world without having an ego. He got an ego. He's gonna bite back at this. There's no doubt about it. Big Ben is gonna bite back at this. Be it, hey man, you know what? Forget it. I won't play. Or, hey, all right, trade me. I'll go somewhere. And he'll try to bite back. Now, if it's going to end well, that's going to be a different scenario. But you got to treat this dude with respect. And another thing, as much as I love the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm very disappointed in Mr. Rooney for allowing this idiot to say this type of things. I love Mr. Rooney. I love the whole Steelers organization. You know what I'm saying? They're one of, quote unquote, the organizations that do things the right way. But Mr. Rooney, you got to say something. You got to make sure he's not talking sideways about your quarterback like this. Because Mr. Rooney, a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about it, he came out and basically said what you were supposed to say. He said it the quote unquote right way. Like, well, we got all intents, purposes of bringing Big Ben back, but it can't be at that number. We've been in contact with him. And you could just leave it at that. But he had to come out and say, as of today, tomorrow, we don't know, man. We might cut his ass. Like, get out of here with that, man. That's trash, man. Like, I know you and I got into it yesterday about that type of stuff and showing dudes respect, but there's no question that you show our future Hall of Fame quarterback some respect. And I said the same thing about Eli Manning when they benched him out of the blue. What are you doing?
And that was really where a lot of my anger was coming with yesterday, is because we have a list a mile long of NFL players being treated that way. My thing is if an NFL player came out with the same comments that we heard from Draymond Green, I wouldn't have taken it as the way. I wouldn't have been as annoyed with it as I am. Because the NFL, I mean, look at Dak in Dallas right now. There's a lot of situations around the NFL where players, where the ownership, and the NBA, that's not the case. Like that's why yesterday I looked at it completely different. I can't think of a scenario. Well, I mean, if this situation with Drummond in Cleveland is the only scenario, the most recent one, I mean, my point about everything yesterday was that if you look at every time a player was disgruntled and angry at his particular team, every team not just got rid of him the way they wanted, they sent him to their ideal destination. The Pelicans could have been spiteful and said, I'm not going to send you to win a title with LeBron and the Lakers. I'm going to send you to the worst team possible.
The Spurs were spiteful, but it bit him in
the ass. I was waiting for you to call me out on that yesterday because I knew, I was like, someone's going to catch that because I've said it before. But
I'm going to send him all the way to Toronto. How about that, buddy? Okay.
But ultimately, James Harden, then Houston could have said, screw you, buddy. We're going to send you to Charlotte. Actually, Charlotte would have been interesting. Ooh. But anyways, I'm trying to think of a bad team right now. There are a lot of teams. But the point is that every time an NBA player wants out of a situation that's bad, the ownership not just moves them, they send them to ultimately where they want to go, and they usually end up in a better spot. In the NFL, that's not always the case. And that's why yesterday I was like, there's more situations like this with Big Ben in the NFL than in the NBA. And that's why it got as heated as it did yesterday, but we won't go back into that world.
I'm sure we will.
I'm sure. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. We're going to talk a little college basketball on the other side of the break. Ohio State and Penn State. They'll tip off tonight, 8 o'clock, 7:15, the pregame right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio. Ohio State, number 4 in the country, and if the NCAA tournament field was built today, they'd be a 1 seed, which I think has caught a lot of people by surprise. Should we be surprised by this Buckeye team and how they've responded to Chris Holtmann, who 4 years ago I thought was a bad hire? I was angry that the Buckeyes didn't ultimately get Archie Miller. They clearly got the best coach out of the two. Should we be surprised by what we're seeing from the Buckeyes? We'll talk with Adam Jardy, covers the Buckeyes, as they get set for Penn State and Michigan coming up this weekend. That's next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Receive a $5 rebate by trading up any non-contact thermometer toward an Exergen temporal scanner purchased at any retailer. With COVID continuing to spread, nothing matters more than having an accurate thermometer that's backed by more than 80 published peer-reviewed clinical studies, like the Exergen temporal scanner. Even after getting the COVID vaccine, you should be monitoring for fever to make sure you are protected. Keep your family and yourself safe by trading up your non-contact thermometer for an accurate temporal scanner and a $5 rebate from Exergen, where accuracy matters. Details at Exergen.com.
Add a stylish look to your bathroom and save big money during Menards Race to Savings Sale. Max has more than 1,000 bathtubs, shower kits, and shower doors to add luxury to your life. U-Tile showers give you the realistic look and feel of tile and installs in half the time. Right now, the Halo shower is $1,879.99. Save big money now during Menards Race to Savings Sale. Prices are good through February 20th.
Save big money at Menards.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's Home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio. That's right, Dayton's Home of the Buckeyes, not just football, but basketball as well. And as we are inching closer and closer to the tip-off to March Madness, we're winding up the regular season, and there's a lot on the line for a lot of teams, including the Ohio State Buckeyes, who have a massive 10-day stretch coming up with a lot of the top teams in the Big Ten going head-to-head. Ohio State looking to remain at the top of the conference, battling it out for a potential regular season championship, but they find themselves number 4 in the country. And if the NCAA tournament started today, or at least the field was built today, they'd be a 1 seed. That's what kind of season it has been for your Ohio State Buckeyes. And joining us now, Buckeye beat writer with the Columbus Dispatch, we have Adam Jardy hanging out with us. Adam, I appreciate you taking time and joining us, but I have to ask, look, this team has been playing hard for Chris Holtmann since he took over for Thad Matta years ago, but how surprised should we be at the fact that they're not just playing well for Chris Holtmann, they're playing at such a high level that they have him in a position to potentially be a 1 seed. How surprised should we be right now? Should we be surprised?
I would say so, certainly. You look at this roster and you look at what we knew about this team coming into the year, which was that they had a bunch of guys that were going to have to step into new, expanded roles, and you didn't know, where the offense was necessarily going to come from. And there were a lot of questions just about how they had a lot of interesting pieces, but how was it all going to fit together? You take that and then you add the fact that there's not a guy in this roster right now that's projected as a surefire NBA talent. And it seems like in college basketball anymore, that's what you really need to win at the highest level, is you need to have like guys who should be pros. I mean, there's a chance that you could have a guy or two off the team eventually, play in the NBA someday, but there's no one in this roster right now that's guaranteed to be an NBA player. And for them to be 4th in the country and chasing a Big Ten title with a roster built that way, I think is a real testament to, I guess, just how this roster has been constructed and the way these guys have really embraced their roles. It's been a surprise for sure.
You talk about new roles. One of those new roles is C.J. Walker, last year's starting point guard. Now he's coming off the bench, providing firepower off the bench. I look at Ohio State, and there's a bunch of guys that are buying in to coach. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I'm glad you brought up C.J. because I think he's a player that Ohio State fans haven't maybe given the appropriate due to. Because, he's a guy, he's not going to go out and lead them in scoring, but he does so many really interesting, difficult things for this team. And I think that whether he's starting or coming off the bench, he's crucial to their long-term success. I actually caught up with Aaron Kraft a couple days ago to talk about CJ and his thoughts on how there's a lot of similarities between the way the two of them play and the way they both approach the game. So looking forward to writing that here soon. But I really like what CJ has brought to this team. He's embraced the fact that, coming back from the injury, that they've started bringing him off the bench. The team played well without him, so, don't rock the boat. He's willing to take on that role. He's willing to accept that change in responsibility, and that's just another example of how, these guys all seem to buy into each other at a pretty high level.
Yeah, because we look at everything that's going on at Duke and guys opting out, and that was one of the situations that happened. A guy was coming off an injury, and his starting role was taken, and he didn't deal with it too well, and he opted out. So that's kudos to C.J. Walker and the staff over there at Ohio State, having guys buy in.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they did play very well without CJ. You look at, they were doing okay to that point in the season, and then he goes down with the injury, and they had a stretch where they played really well. You win at Rutgers, and that really kind of turned the season in a way. And when the team plays at a high level and you can't be part of it and then you come back, I think it takes a real maturity level to understand they did some great things without me. I need to be willing to accept that. And he has. that's what you would want from your fifth-year senior, from a guy who they consider a captain, just being willing to take on whatever that team needs, and he's done a great job with that.
This past weekend, we watched Ohio State take down Indiana, and the reason that matchup is so enticing and interesting to me is because I always thought that we were going to be circling that matchup with the painful reminder that Ohio State missed out on Archie Miller. And then when Archie Miller left Dayton, us doing the show here in Dayton, Archie Miller, the city just loved him, and it was painful to watch him take the Indiana job. And I said, hey, I'll always be able to accept him leaving UD if the next stop for him happens to be Ohio State. That's who I wanted at the time. And then you look at he takes the Indiana job. That Mata resigns at a very late time, late into the calendar year, and they get Chris Holtmann. I didn't get all the butterflies inside for Chris Holtmann, and you know what? I have no problem being wrong about that. It is crazy looking back 4 years to now, 4 years ago from when they left to where they are now, and Ohio State clearly got the better end of the coaching selection in this, when everyone really thought they missed out on who should have been the coach at least 4 years ago, in Archie Miller.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think it'll be a really interesting era to look back in Big Ten history, 10, 20 years from now, and look at, two programs and ending up having those openings within a couple of months of each other, and how things shake out, and how the Ohio guy goes to Indiana, the Indiana guy goes to Ohio, and now they end up playing each other all these times, and Chris Holtmann getting the upper hand. They've had some really, really memorable battles with each other. Some really late night, overtime games that have happened there in Bloomington, and Holtmann's 6-1 now against Archie. I don't know how much I put into necessarily just Chris Holtmann has outcoached Archie Miller, but I think when you look at the overall level of success that the two programs have had, it's clear at this point that Chris Holtmann is ahead of Archie, and I can tell you, you're not alone in the segment of the fan base that really wanted Archie to take over for Thad. I think that had been brewing for a long time, and I think there was a lot of hand-wringing when that ended up not being the case. But like you said, it's turned out pretty well for him.
This is a big-time sidebar question, but speaking of Thad Matta, have you heard any when he resigned from Ohio State, was that him retiring for good, or do you ever expect to see him pacing the sidelines, leading a college program again?
Well, he didn't really resign. They kind of framed it that way, but they pushed him out the door there, and then maybe there was a little bit of a mutual understanding that things weren't heading in a good direction. But for all intents and purposes, they paid him $10 million to not coach anymore. So I don't know if I call it. I would like to resign and have that kind of reward for it someday. But I would honestly be surprised to see him back out there, just because I know he enjoys retirement. We do talk every now and then. I've quoted him in a couple of stories here the last few years. The time and just the energy that it would take to take over a program somewhere and rebuild, because no one's going to hire him to come in and take over a team that's already a top 10 team. You hire a new coach to come in and get things to a new level. That takes a lot of grind. And at this stage of his life, and I don't blame him, I don't know that Thad has that drive. I know he likes coaching, and he would like to, be around teams and things like that. I think maybe we end up seeing him as a commentator or a broadcast analyst or something like that. I could see that maybe being a potential outlet for him down the road. But it's hard for me to see him back on the sidelines, just because of how much it would take for him just physically to do that all again.
Adam, I'm from Cleveland, so I'm a little familiar with the Michie Johnson situation. Can you update everybody on how he got to Ohio State a year early and why he had to sit out the first half of the season?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. Yeah, Michie was all set to play his senior season up there at Garfield Heights, and then Ohio State had a situation where Abel Porter, a graduate transfer from Utah State, collapsed at a workout, and turns out he has a heart condition. His career ended just like that. And at that point, they didn't really have much in the way of backcourt depth. So they started looking at their options, and they applied for a waiver for Jimmy Sotos, a Bucknell transfer, to start playing. They weren't sure if they would get that waiver, and so they reached out to Michie and said, would you be willing to reclassify, graduate early, and join the team? Academically, he was far enough along that was an option. They like his leadership and his maturity and his talent level, and so it ultimately became a situation where it made sense for both parties. So yeah, he graduated high school early and joined the team in December. Had to go through testing protocols and medical protocols. The guy who didn't play his entire junior season with a torn ACL. So he's basically a year and a half removed from playing any sort of competitive games. And then he just jumps right in and is, playing on a team that's chasing a Big Ten title. I think it's a real testament to, the level of coaching that he got while he was playing up there in Northeast Ohio. And I think future's really bright for him. And it's really important to remember that everyone playing this season gets another year of eligibility. So he's still a freshman next year. So really, this is like a win-win situation for him.
He was like the real high-level recruit for next year, but he's also going to be teamed up with someone else next year, right? There's like another high-level recruit coming in.
Yeah, Malachi Branham, who's a borderline 5-star recruit playing up at St. Vincent St. Mary. He'll be joining the team next season. I think he's a future first-team All-Big Ten type of player. He's a sort of a true combo guard, can really score at a high level, physical, big, strong. It was a big get for Ohio State to land him. I think he's going to be a significant contributor for them.
Any elite talent is great talent, but what makes it even more special is the fact that, he's getting these Ohio kids. Adam, my favorite thing about the Thad Matta-led Buckeyes for me growing up in high school and following the Buckeyes during that stretch, it's not just that they were winning at such a high level. It's not that they were getting to Final Fours and that they were, right at the top of the Big Ten. It was the fact that they were doing it with a lot of players that we were familiar with, that we watched at the high school level, a lot of local kids. And that's what made that such a special run for Thad Matta and Ohio State. It's, it's always special when you win with local homegrown kids, but not just winning, but winning at the level of which Thad did it. But Chris Holtman's starting to turn that around a little bit. You have the Justin Arns kid, from Versailles that's just a little over an hour north of here. And you talked about those Ohio kids coming in. There's the Etzler kid from Crestview, from a town where I'm from. I'm from Van Wert. He plays at Crestview over in Convoy, a small little farm town. I mean, tiny, but the talent's all over the place. And Chris Holtman is getting those guys to buy into the Ohio State way and to get them to come play at Ohio State, and not just getting them here, but winning with them now. That's what's fun and exciting about what Chris Holtman is doing. Very similar to what we saw a lot of when Thad Matta was running Ohio State.
That's a really interesting point, and that's actually, I plan on doing a really in-depth story on this during the offseason when I have some more time to dig into it. But when you look at when Thad really had things rolling, you have to look at the level of talent that was coming from Ohio and the number of the 5-star kids. And I mean, when you have Jared Sullinger and Aaron Kraft and John Diebler and David Lighty and Kosa Kufis and BJ Mullins, like you go down the list, like there's some elite talent coming out of Ohio. And frankly, the last several years, though, Ohio's been down talent-wise. Ohio hasn't had a 5-star kid in several years. And, when people looked at why Ohio State wasn't, maybe performing at the level they needed, they were getting, the Ohio kids were 3-star kids, 4-star kids. You take a Mark Loving instead of a Nigel Hayes, and, you misevaluate on a kid or two, and then it just kind of snowballs. But the fact that Chris Holtman has, things kind of pointed in the direction he does, and he's been, when Ohio has had top talent, he's mostly been able to hang on to it. That's definitely important. He's also had to be a little bit more flexible because there just hasn't been as much talent in Ohio as in years past.
Yeah, I don't know if you said William Buford, another name.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, there's just so many names during that 10-year stretch that was a part of just the vital success of the program. It's unbelievable, but it's cool seeing them doing it again with a lot of local guys. Justin Arns from Versailles, just an hour down or up the road from us here, has done fantastic. So we were robbed of Ohio State, Michigan during the football season. And, normally the basketball rivalry doesn't even come close to having the same weight on the hardwood as it does on the football field. But, man, I tell you, there is more on the line in this matchup coming up on Saturday than any of the last 5 or 6 college football matchups between Ohio State or Michigan. This is a big one on Saturday. You retweeted, I think it was Joe Lenardi. I saw it on your Twitter page where someone had asked him, is basically a 1 seed on the line in this matchup. He says, probably they're both still 1 seeds, but how big of a game is this on Saturday? Michigan coming off of that long break, just getting their feet wet back into the scheme of things.
Well, I can tell you that there has never been a game between Ohio State and Michigan in basketball where they've both been top 5 teams.
Wow.
So, if you want to go by that definition, we've literally never seen an Ohio State-Michigan basketball.
Not even the Jimmy Jackson and the Fab 5 games where they weren't there?
Not according to Ohio State's records.
Wow.
And it could be that maybe they forgot a number somewhere. I've been a little focused in on Penn State. I haven't dug into it like completely just yet, but and that might have been. There has been at least one top 10 matchup between the two, so it's possible that maybe that was that game. But it's going to be a fascinating matchup, really, and it's going to have big repercussions, I think, down the road for who might end up claiming a Big Ten title, because right now the Big Ten is saying that they're going to go by winning percentage. Michigan's played 5 fewer games than Ohio State, and it's really not Michigan's fault. I mean, they got shut down for a couple of weeks. I don't know how many of those games they're going to get to make up, but this could determine in a lot of ways, like, who really has a legitimate claim to a Big Ten title. Because, like, if you just go by winning percentage right now, if you were to assume that Ohio State wins out, which means a win against Michigan, obviously, and if Michigan wins out minus a loss to Ohio State would be 16-4, Michigan would be 13-2. Michigan would have the better winning percentage, and Michigan would have the Big Ten title, even though Ohio State would have a head-to-head win and have more victories overall. So I think it's going to be a fascinating end to the Big Ten season. I think, maybe we end up seeing, multiple teams claim a title. But, these are two teams. Nobody expected either of them to be, at the top of the Big Ten or competing for championships this season. And yet, Juwan Howard and Chris Holtmann are on the short list for coaches of the year. So there's going to be a lot riding on this game on Sunday.
Tonight's game, a clear definition of a trap game. And Penn State, you should never look over Penn State, especially they've been a thorn in the side of Ohio State for a few years now. But tonight, the perfect definition of a trap game. We're so focused on the big one, the Ohio State-Michigan showdown on Saturday. But another big one tonight for Ohio State, which they've been fairly consistent. The Chris Holtmann years have been a lot of ups and downs in conference play. This is the most consistent conference run that we've seen from Chris Holtmann since taking over. This is a big one tonight, though, not because of who they play, but because of what it's going to set up come Sunday.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I thought that when they went to Maryland last week, I thought that was a potential letdown, maybe a trap game type game for them, because they're coming off the big Iowa win, and Maryland's down this year. There's no fans. There's not a great environment or energy in the building. Would that be where we saw them take a step backward or maybe take their foot off the gas? And it really didn't happen. They played pretty well in that game. They won it pretty comfortably. I can tell you that Penn State has this team's attention. They haven't won. Actually, Thad Matta's last win was at Penn State, and that's the last time Ohio State has won at Penn State. Holtmann has one of three arenas in the Big Ten Holtmann's never won at. And they frankly have not been close. Penn State's had its way with Ohio State at home, since Chris Holtmann got there. And that game in Columbus a couple weeks ago was really tight. Ohio State had a 12-point lead. Penn State came back, was up by 8. Ohio State rallied. They know what this Penn State team can do, and they turn you over. They can really make it difficult on your guards, on your backcourt. So I think that if Penn State wins this game, I don't think it's because Ohio State overlooks them. I just think it is a tough matchup for Ohio State, but I don't think that Ohio State will be already thinking about Michigan. I think they're pretty, in this case, because of their recent history against Penn State, I think they're pretty dialed in.
Adam Jardy covers Ohio State men's basketball, covers them for the Columbus Dispatch. We appreciate you taking time and hanging out with us today. I'm going to send you out with this question. It's rare to not have Duke in the top 25. It's rare to not have Kentucky or North Carolina and Kansas. I think Kansas snuck back in, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is it's rare for any one of those programs to not be in the top 25. And yet all of these programs are on the outside looking in right now. And then you look at the Big Ten. What is it about the Big Ten that just continues to roll and continues to have top team after top team, while some of the traditional top powers are just off? And I don't think it's all because of COVID, because we started to see some slippage from Duke and Kentucky and North Carolina last year. Why are we starting to see the decline in some of those teams, do you think, and the Big Ten just continues to build up?
I think that I think recruiting has changed a little bit here recently, and we're starting to see this more consistently where, it's not like every top 10 kid is going to one of these schools. Some of them are going this G League route, and some guys are going the professional route already, and some guys have picked some unusual schools in recent years. And so you're not seeing quite the same stranglehold at the top of the recruiting rankings that we've seen, historically. I think the unusual offseason, I think we're seeing that impact teams differently. And I think some teams that have more experience, not all, but some of these teams have been able to weather that better because they've been around the block a little bit more. And I think when you're constantly relying on freshmen and new guys to win, like some of these blue bloods have, it makes it really difficult for them to just jump right in and know what to do when you haven't really had a normal offseason. So I think that's a part of it. I think, like I said, recruiting has shifted a little bit here recently, where these guys are having different options. And then, it could just be also a coincidence, honestly, that, there's a lot of these guys on these rosters that any team in the country would have taken. And maybe you just end up with, a tough class, or you stack one class on top of another tough class, and suddenly things don't look as good. But, Duke's got an elite recruiting class coming in next year. Cal has proven himself to be one of the best coaches in the history of the sport. You go down the list, you expect these programs will be back to where they historically have been.
All right, Ohio State, Penn State tonight, 8 o'clock, the tip-off, 7:15, the pregame right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio. Adam, thanks so much for taking time and joining us. Usually a lot of attention given to our Dayton Flyers here, but since they've taken a step back this year, all attention right now on the Buckeyes as they are off and rolling, and they got a big one tonight with Penn State and a bigger one on Saturday with that team up north. Adam, thanks so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, my heart goes out to those Dayton fans. You guys deserved a postseason last year, and I'll never get over that. So I feel for you guys.
It's been a tough stretch, I promise you that much. But Anthony got a good coach, and Anthony Grant recruiting is at an all-time high right now for the program. It's still an exciting time for college basketball, but it's tough for a lot of fans to swallow it right now. That's for sure. So
for sure.
All right, Adam, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with snow, a high near 28. Tonight's going to be cloudy with a chance of snow, a low around 12. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy with flurries, a high near 24. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/hire.
Mike, room 4 is ready to go. Like now.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Kelly, room 2 needs to be
like at Dr. Moore's dermatology practice. To keep pace with new patients, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for entry-level machinist. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages with merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, bonus programs, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. A Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6677 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6677. Enjoy.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Jeremy Birmingham with Letterman Row retweeted Labius Thomas Overton. I guess he's the number one ranked 2023 prospect for not just football, but really good basketball player as well. And I found this interesting. Jeremy Birmingham retweeted Thomas Overton saying that he is blessed to receive a dual sport scholarship to the University of Ohio State. That's funny. You have people that say Dayton University when it's the University of Dayton, and then at Ohio State, it's the University of Ohio State is what he called it. But nonetheless, he's, a dual scholarship. Nice. I like that. And that is rare. Jeremy Birmingham talking about how that's rare. That's it's an rare opportunity right there. It's rare for the Buckeyes, especially, to offer up this kind of double play right there. But when you're dealing with the number one prospect in the class of 2023, sometimes you got to be a little bit creative. So that's interesting. But I can't tell you the last time. I don't even know the last time that there was a dual athlete at Ohio State for football. I'm not saying it hasn't been recent. I just can't think of one recently. Man,
I think Jared Dudley, that was like in the 90s. Jared Dudley played football and basketball from Dayton as well.
Lumpkin too, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe it was Lumpkin.
It was Lumpkin.
Okay, then it was Lumpkin. Okay.
And he's out. I see him at Trotwood all the time. I see him at Trotwood games all the time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've named a new AD. I thought he was the interim AD for Trotwood right now. But no, I like it. That's rare to see that. And you're right, it doesn't happen at Ohio State too often.
I mean,
I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but or since Lumpkin, but nonetheless,
it doesn't happen too often at all. I mean, the one that I go to is Julius Peppers, played DN and power forward for North Carolina. Charlie Ward played point guard and quarterback for Florida State. Ronald Curry played, quarterback and point guard for North Carolina. So I'm trying to think of anybody else. I know Antonio Gates, but Antonio Gates never played football in college. He played basketball, and then he got drafted into the pros in football. Yeah, Jimmy Graham played basketball. He never played football until he got to the
Mo
pros.
Alley Cox.
Yeah.
The kid from VCU. I've talked about him before, but, we saw him at UD Arena every damn years in those A-10 title games for UD. Those last couple of years with Archie, those were some of the best games I could remember at that arena. That place was, that place is crazy all the time, especially during the Obi run. But with those A-10 titles on the line, the last game of the regular season at UD Arena, Mo Alley Cox was on that team, and he was just a freak of nature, man. It doesn't surprise me at all that he went right from basketball and goes, and he's one of the Colts' best players. It's not just that he's on an NFL team. He is one of the top players on the roster. So
supremely talented people, supremely athletic people to be able to transition from one sport to the next, because people think it's easy because we did it growing up as a kids. We go play basketball in the backyard for hours on end. Let's go play football now. It's not that easy, man. I remember the clip floating around on YouTube when Draymond Green tried to play football for Sparty.
I told you we were not allowed to bring him up anymore.
Well, this is good for you, though. He got beat down by a 5'10" corner that probably weighed 180 pounds. Football is a different animal, man. Hey, football is a totally different animal.
You may not have knew this based on yesterday's show, but I actually I'm a big Draymond Green fan. I like
He's right up your alley.
He is. But I just thought that was
Crop
a little,
pictures.
And real quick to go back to that from yesterday, since we're cooler heads. And by the way, you don't go into anything without a cool head. I get you to that point, so that I'll take responsibility there. But you even swore. You never swear. You called me a smart ass. You called me a smart ass yesterday. I was like, what the hell? But I was being one. But with him, what's interesting about that is like I don't think that he was really that tore up about what was going on with Drummond in Cleveland. I think what he sees is his future. I think that he could be a piece that's moved from the Warriors whenever they finally get Klay Thompson back and they, James Wiseman, another year experience. Like I think Draymond sees what his future could be. And that could have been a very loud message to his own organization saying, don't do it, which more power to you if that's what you're doing. If you're playing, chess, not checkers, more power to you. But like he's a type of player that would happen to, where he's a part of those title teams, not a part. He was a central part of those title teams, but he's not looked at in the same light as Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and others. And I think what he's saying is a very good player in Drummond that's being treated that way. And I think that he fits that mold of, he falls in that category of a team would do that to him in that realm. They wouldn't do it to Klay Thompson. They wouldn't do it to Steph Curry. I could see that happening to Draymond.
I could see it happening, but I would liken to think that the Warriors organization would do guys that were core members of that team a little better than that. I mean, we all know Draymond from, his antics and getting technicals and kicking people in the crotch and yada, yada, yada. But we also remember Draymond Green from his Michigan State days. But, we got to remember he was a second-round pick. And, for all that is wrong with his jumper now, for some strange reason, he can't hit a shot to save his life. For all intents and purposes, he is the point guard on that team. Like in the era of positionless basketball, he is the point guard on that team. He leads them in assists, leads them in rebounding, just can't score anymore for some strange reason. And he's still wide open. Like it is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think it's that strange why he's not scoring. This is why I wanted Obi Toppin to end up with the Warriors and not with the Knicks and everything else, because Draymond Green, defenses weren't worried about Draymond Green. Mm-hmm. They literally have nightmares about Steph and Klay Thompson.
Yes.
The nightmares became night terrors when Kevin Durant became a part of the Warriors. So, yes, you want to pay attention to where Draymond Green is on the floor, but when you got those three to deal with before him, man, if we're going to get beat tonight, he's going to beat us with 25 and 10 because we don't have time to come up with the scheme to stop it. Now, when you just have Steph and there's no Klay and no Kevin Durant, now it's different. But when I thought Klay was going to be healthy, that's why I wanted Obi so bad to be with the Warriors, because I was like, man, he could run the floor, and the defense is going to be so locked on Klay and Steph Curry that Obi's going to have those. That's why, and James Wiseman is benefiting from that, by the way. A lot of the wide open looks he gets at the bucket are because Steph Curry is garnering a lot of that attention. And I think Wiseman would be even better if Klay Thompson was healthy, and Obi would have thrived as far as that goes. And by the way, folks, I'm going to read all these because these are great examples. We were just talking about Ohio State in general. The offer that we were talking about for this kid, the number one football prospect for 2023, he was offered a dual scholarship to Ohio State to play basketball and football. So that's how we got into about that. These are all great answers. Golden Tate, not Tate Martell, by the way. I mean, he can't even play one sport right now, much less two. Golden Tate.
Baseball, right?
Mm-hmm. And then this is a good one. I love this one. Allison Spurk. Shout out to Allison. Jeff Samardzija. Football at Notre Dame. And he was there during the
Brady Quinn
years.
Yeah. Wide receiver and pitcher, and
then it goes on to be one of the with the Cubs and everything. It was great. It was great, but not just. And that's the thing too. There's a lot of guys that get a shot doing both, but then there's guys that thrive. Like Jeff Samardzija was a beyond impressive pitcher in Major League Baseball, and he was a big-time standout at Notre Dame for football. Mike on Facebook as well says Joey is also a linebacker for Michigan right now, and I pulled it up to see who he was talking about because Joey Velasquez. He plays baseball for Michigan, but also football for Michigan.
Nice.
Doug Toby says Kinner was a dual sport athlete at Edison State beer pong team and basketball team. I was quite the beer pong player. In fact, I was a way better beer pong player than basketball player. I even held my follow on beer pong. I even held my follow through.
Is like beer pong still going to be a thing once the world opens back up?
I think it still is now. You think these kids haven't been? Jesus. You think these kids have been staying out? I mean, North Carolina is not the only one with kids out partying all the time.
Oh no!
And have you been to Mercer County? So to answer your question, yes, it's still a thing. So there's that. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. More of these answers are coming in. Ron, thank you. Good. Haven't heard from Ron in a while.
The Ron, he's still on his Super Bowl hangover.
And as he well should be. Charlie Ward, he threw, and you mentioned that a little bit ago. Ray Osmond on Facebook said, and this goes back to our Big Ben conversation from earlier, if only Big Ben had line protection like he had bathroom protection from PA State Police. Woo-wee. Coming in hot. He
could have said Georgia Police too.
Yeah, I was going to say whatever you got to do. All right, so let's see. We got a lot to still get to coming up here in hour number 3, especially. Jay Bilas says enough is enough. We're going to get into a high school shot clock debate after what was probably the worst score in the history of basketball. And I'm curious. I mean, I'm not going to tell you yet. We're going to get to that at 5 o'clock. But keep in mind, 20 minutes from now, we're going to get into this Jay Bilas conversation regarding this. In Alabama, it was they've already started their high school boys basketball tournament. So their playoffs have already started. And there were 2 teams that averaged over 60 points a game that basically the final score, or forget it, 6-4 was the final. 6-4 was the final score. 2 teams that average over 60 had played each other in the regular season. Obviously, there was a winner and a loser. And the loser ended up getting the win in the playoff game because they held the ball, which, by the way, they did nothing wrong. They did absolutely nothing wrong. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So
you're correct.
So there we go.
Correct.
There we go.
You're correct.
That's all I'm going to say. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But we're going to get into that shot clock debate coming up. I do have an update on the J.J. Watt front, though, that we're going to get to on the other side of the break. We have an update for J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt and ESPN's Ed Warner. Ed Warner released this earlier today, that a conversation he had with J.J. Watt, that J.J. Watt has come out and said that these are the 3 things I am looking for from the team I want to end up with. So these 3 talking points, these 3 bullet points are what he is looking for when it comes to finalizing his deal with the team that he's going to ultimately end up with. The Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens, the Bengals, the Packers. I had the Colts on my list when I made my rundown this morning, so I'm taking the Colts off that, although they, more power to you if they can make it happen. But I am curious people's thoughts on this. There's 3 bullet points that he listed as any team, whatever team he ends up with, needs to have these 3 things. I'll have those 3 things for you on the other side of the break, and we'll discuss if the Cleveland Browns have what it takes to get it done. We'll have that J.J. Watt update for you coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
At CDW, we get the right network makes remote locations seem less remote.
Great, because my data is lagging out here.
CDW can orchestrate the Aruba Edge Services platform, bringing computing closer to where data is created. It automates, unifies, and secures the edge, fixing problems before they impact your business, giving your network a 6th sense. Someone at the door?
Just a moose. He works here.
Aruba and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Aruba.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Procter & Gamble, the company behind some of your favorite brands like Tide and Charmin and Pampers, is now hiring entry-level technicians at the Dayton Distribution Center. P&G is offering a competitive pay rate of $16.44 per hour for 8 and 12-hour rotating shifts, plus an additional per-hour rotating shift incentive. P&G offers a comprehensive benefit package on day 1, including medical, dental, and 401k. For more information, visit pgcareers.com. Search for Dayton and apply today. Procter & Gamble is an equal opportunity employer.
What's in store this week at Staples?
Everything you need for a totally productive workspace.
Staples has the technology, supplies, and furniture you need to upgrade your workspace at amazing prices.
Like right now, select chairs are 40% off.
Plus, when you buy any office chair, get 25% off all desks, file cabinets, chair mats, bookcases, and lighting purchases.
Shop in store or pick up curbside.
Upgrade your workspace and save at Staples. See staplesconnect.com for details.
Ends 2/27/21. In-store only while supplies last. Curbside available at most stores.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sure, we can help you knock that oil change right off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge full synthetic motor oil and an STP extended life oil filter for just $29.99, plus a $10 bonus reward if you're an AutoZone Rewards member. Not a member? We can sign you up fast, right here in store or on AutoZone.com. Getting the job done just got easier. Terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
In the Army National Guard, soldiers serve part-time and close to home.
My community means everything to me. It helped shape me into who I am today, and is where I choose to raise my own family. That's why I joined the Army National Guard. I'm proud of where I'm from, and as a soldier, I get to give back to the people that helped me succeed. The education benefits I got from serving helped me get my degree and jumpstart my career. The training and leadership skills I've gained from the Army National Guard help me every day when I teach young people, help my neighbors, and look out for my community. I know that when my neighbors need us the most, my fellow soldiers and I will be ready. My family loves it here, and my part-time service means we get to stay here.
Serve part-time in the community you live in as a proud member of the Army National Guard. Talk to your local recruiter or visit nationalguard.com. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
O'Reilly. Count on the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Get maximum cooling system performance for 10 years or 300,000 miles with peak long life universal pre-mixed antifreeze and coolant. On sale now for just $5.99 after mail-in rebate. Plus earn double O rewards points. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
ESPN's Ed Warner says that there are 3 factors that J.J. Watt is considering when making his final decision of which team he ultimately picks is, again, is a free agent released by the Houston Texans and now is on the market and testing free agency at, this big time. He's a big time free agent testing the free agent waters for the first time. But he said whatever team he ends up with ultimately has to have these three factors. Kev, these three factors. Any team he ends up with needs to have these three factors. If they don't have these three factors, they're not considered an option. The first factor that every team needs to check off is they need to have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So when we start looking at the teams that he could potentially end up with, we need to start looking at, okay, who's their quarterback and is he considered a quarterback? Like a quarterback, like a real dude, like a real quarterback. Whatever team he ends up with, they need to have a quarterback, they need to have a great supporting cast, and they need to have money, which ultimately means he wants some of his money. He has said he's not going to take the full $16 million that he was going to get with the Texans this year, but he's also not going to take some lame duck vet minimum deal either. Like it's going to be the best of both worlds. He's going to take less than what he was going to make with the Texans, but he's also not just going to take the vet minimum either. Right. So wherever J.J. Watt ends up, according to ESPN's Ed Werner, whatever team he ends up with has to have these three factors. They have to have a quarterback. They have to have a great supporting cast, and they have to have money. So if any of the teams that we have thrown out there don't have one or don't have all three of those things, we got to take them off the list. So you start looking at that list and you start looking at the NFL and the different teams that we've talked about. You got to ask yourself, okay, do these teams, what do they have? Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. Do they have a quarterback? Do they have a great supporting cast? Do they have money? The Bills, quarterback, check. Yes. Do they have a great supporting cast? Check.
Yes.
Do they have money?
Wait. Supporting cast, defensive supporting cast, or just talking about supporting cast?
In the details, it talks about as a whole from the front office down.
Okay.
Front office down to the supporting cast being the talent on the field. Yes. So they have to have talent. So the Buffalo Bills, they check the quarterback, they check the supporting cast, and they're on the fringe money-wise. Like they have money to spend in free agency, but they're not going to blow it all on one player. So that takes the Bills out. The Bills are out. Moving on, let's say, and are you surprised that the Dolphins have never once been brought up, by the way?
I'm not, because it looks like they're going total youth movement.
Okay.
Like they like the young guys that they got, and they're thinking to themselves, why do we need to add him into the mix? We can just keep rolling with the guys we got. I mean, their defense was causing turnovers left and right. And I know a lot of people out there think that turnovers are a luck situation, but no, they coach these things. They coach you to punch the ball out. They coach you to intercept the ball. And the Dolphins defense was legit last year.
The Browns do that, by the way. The Browns do that about as good as any team out there. The problem is the Browns are not a good defensive team, but there's a reason that when you look at the Browns, Kev, why they're one of the top every year, the last 2 years, 3 years, they're one of the top takeaway teams in the league, but also one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Like, isn't that crazy? Like they force a lot of turnovers, but man, they're bad defensively. But you think they go hand in hand, and they don't. But a lot of it has to do with those little things. Yep. What shoulder they, their second, how they kind of respond and play the routes and everything like that. And it comes to punching the ball loose. Like watch every Browns linebacker second. They're constantly punching at the ball. Now, moving down the list, the Patriots. The Patriots are another team that don't get brought up. They do have cap space, but they don't have everything. Remember, if you're just tuning in, J.J. Watt said that whatever team he ends up with has to have these three factors. They have to have a quarterback. They have to have a great supporting cast, meaning from the front office down, talent surrounding cast on the field matters, coaching and everything, and they have to have money. So we've eliminated the Bills because of the money situation. The available cap they have, they're not going to use all on one player. They need a running back, which they can address in the draft, but I think that they're going to be very, patient with their money too. They're not just going to give it away for no reason. The Dolphins aren't in the mix. The Patriots, let's go down that list. Do they have a quarterback? No. But they have a good supporting cast, especially defensively. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget, I don't like the Patriots offensively, but defensively, man, you add him on top of what all they're going to get back with all the guys that opted out due to COVID. The Patriots with J.J. Watt, very intriguing. They do have a great supporting cast. They do have the cap space, but they don't have the quarterback. Even if it's Cam Newton, I don't trust Cam Newton. I don't think he trusts Cam Newton. You got to take the Patriots out of the equation for that. The Jets, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a good supporting cast. They have plenty of money, but he's not going to end up there. Let's go to the AFC West. Denver. Do they have a quarterback? No. Mm-mm. Do they have a great supporting cast? They have holes, I like their front office. I like Lynch. I like those guys. But ultimately, I still think there's too many holes. They're not competitive. He's not going to go there. Kansas City checks all the boxes. They have the quarterback. They have the supporting cast. They do have money to be able to potentially give him. He would have to take a discount, though. He couldn't go there and get the max defensive deal. Look at what the Kansas City did. They locked in all their core guys this past offseason after winning the Super Bowl before getting back to the second time. The Raiders are a team that we brought up yesterday.
Yeah.
Who was it? DoorDash Ray? 2 days ago, DoorDash Ray called in and said that the Raiders should be thrown out there as a team as a possible landing spot. The Raiders, again, the checklist. J.J. Watt says whatever team he goes to has to have these three things. A quarterback. The Raiders, Carr's not a bad quarterback. Is he considered a quarterback to get this off the list for J.J. Watt? I say no.
No,
he's okay, but I don't think J.J. Watt trusts him enough to go to Vegas to play with him. Supporting cast. Gruden is a name coach. I don't think he's a great coach. Front office for the Raiders makes a lot of weird decisions. The Raiders are out. They're not a good organization. I don't care what anybody says. Gruden's an overrated coach. Don't care what anybody says. And Carr's okay, but they still have a lot. I like Jacobs. I think they have a lot of holes. They're out of it. The Chargers are out of it. But imagine Joey Bosa and him. That would be pretty cool. I mean, but they're interesting. They just don't have the money to do it right now. But they have the quarterback. They have the personnel. I don't like the coach. The coach has no business being a head coach. He's just like Zach Taylor, never been a coordinator before, but we're all of a sudden we're gonna never mind. It is what it is. No. The Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback, check, maybe. The problem is it's not long term, and Dak may only be there for one more year on the franchise tag.
That's blowing up in Jerry Jones's face, by the way.
I mean, I don't know if it is, because if he ends up with the reason I don't think it is, Jerry spends money. He has no problem spending money. If they need a quarterback next offseason,
I'm just saying, like, if they sign him to a cap, I believe what they said was $39 million.
Oh, that's going to be way more than what he would have normally if you just paid him. So that I agree with you.
Like, yikes. Like, how did he get so high so fast?
The Dallas Cowboys, though, they have the quarterback, even if it's just for 1 year, check. They have supporting cast. They definitely have the money. The supporting cast is okay. It's okay. It's just trusted. It's hard. I don't think players dislike Jerry.
No.
Like, fans hate Jerry. Media finds him to be very polarizing. But I don't think that he is hated by the players. If anything, the players love him because he'll give you the money you want if you're good enough to get it. J.J. Watt fits that category. I could put the Cowboys in that category, but they have not been mentioned at all as a potential landing spot. And that would be interesting to see him stay in Texas, by the way. So there's that.
That tax money.
Let's go now. I mean, again, how about the Bears? Quarterback, no. Personnel, no. Money, yes. But ultimately, they're a no. The Packers. I get so annoyed when the Packers keep getting brought up, Kev. They don't have money. They have no money to spend. None.
I'm coming home.
They have no money to spend. So he wants a team with a quarterback. Packers check that. He wants a team with a supporting cast. Packers check that. He wants a team that has money, and to be clear, he wants a team that has money, not just to pay him, but to still have money to go pay and put other pieces around him. The Packers are out. He's not going to be a Green Bay Packer. He's just not. How about, if you want to have a family reunion, let's go to Pittsburgh. All right, let's go through the criteria list. Do they have a quarterback? They have a half a quarterback. They may not have a quarterback at all. So that takes
Kevin Colbert's talking.
Yeah.
They got me playing quarterback.
Yeah, it's like if you ask him now, what do you mean? Who's my quarterback right now? I mean, technically Big Ben right now, but who knows? Maybe in a month it's someone different. But Pittsburgh, they only check one box, and that's personnel.
Yeah.
They have good weapons on the defensive side of the ball. They have, a good ownership. They have a good front office, but you have no quarterback. I'm giving you half a quarterback because you don't know what the situation is there. And they literally have no money. They have none. Yeah. Zilch. Nada. So Pittsburgh is out. He's not going to be with the Steelers. All right. The Titans. Do they have a quarterback? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good enough I think that he feel comfortable with Ryan Tannehill. Do they have the personnel? They have a great coach. They have a good front office, good ownership. And they do have the money. The Titans are a good, decent landing spot for J.J. Watt. They check off all the boxes of what he's looking for. How about the Baltimore Ravens? The Baltimore Ravens have the quarterback.
Yes.
They have the personnel.
Yeah.
From the front office down to talent, physical talent on the field. They have money, but not the max money that you're looking for if you're J.J. Watt, to where they could pay you and get and fill the holes that they need to. They need wide receivers.
Yeah.
And AJ Green, by the way, I saw like a crystal ball type of report that came out that said that, AJ Green, there's only one team that makes sense for him. That's not Cincinnati. He's going to end up in Baltimore, which, by the way, doesn't help Lamar Jackson. AJ Green is not good anymore. And if that's Baltimore's, if that's their answer to providing Lamar with weapons, then, Lamar's third place. He might accidentally finish in second because Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are going to be battling it out for last. So there's that.
I don't understand that move. Like, I'm a big AJ Green fan, but I mean, he's like over the hill, man. He's coming off of major injuries and everything like that.
You're talking about a team that just brought back
that's what I was
Dez Bryant.
Like, they went and got Dez, but this is alarming, man. If I'm Lamar's agent, I'm knocking on their door like, hey, it's cool that I'm going to re-sign a nice little hefty contract here, but can we stop getting guys that played like 10 years ago, that were in their prime 5 years ago? Like, let's stop doing that.
Yeah, if I'm Lamar, I knock on their door and just say, hey, so what's going on in Houston? Oh, Deshaun wants out? Why does Deshaun want out? Oh, interesting. Okay. No, I didn't need anything. I just wanted to talk. I'll see you guys later, and just drop some little hints here and there. But Lamar, yeah, so it's that's going to be an interesting situation there. But I don't think he ends up with Baltimore ultimately. I don't think he ends up in Baltimore. Cincinnati, do they have a quarterback?
Yes.
We think. We think. I mean, again, we all know how great Baker looked his first year, and look how much he plummeted year two. So I'm playing by the Bengals fans' rules. I was told I am not allowed to be excited about Baker Mayfield after year one because it's only year one.
Were you excited after Baker's first year?
Hell yes. I was.
So you should be excited for Joey's first year.
I'm not excited because I'm playing by Bengals fans' rules.
Play by Kenner's rules. When do you start playing by other people's rules?
Whenever the people that tell me what rules to play by annoy me, and Bengals fans annoy me. They told me specifically I could not be excited about Baker after year one because he hasn't accomplished anything. Well, now Joe Burrow didn't accomplish anything. You're picking in the top 5 again. How many one possession games did you lose? I threw for 300 yards a lot of times. That's great. That's cool. That's like the guard in the NBA who averages 30 a game on a last place team. It means nothing to me. So can you do it? Can you lead the team to victories and wins? So, but ultimately, now that my trolling is done, yes, I think they have a quarterback. But does J.J. Watt believe they have a quarterback?
Yes.
Personnel? Nope. Bengals are out of the equation. So there we go. So the Bengals are out of the equation because the front office sucks, the coaches suck, and the Bengals just as an organization suck, so they're out. Cleveland Browns, quarterback, check. Front office personnel, that's where this becomes a little dicey. I do like their general manager. I like the pieces that they have in place, but it's still the Cleveland Browns. I've said before that just one good year doesn't erase the joke that they've been for decades now, right? Like, how do you handle this success? How do you build on it? And how do you sustain it? That's what's going to take Cleveland out of that conversation of being a joke of an organization like what I labeled the Bengals. I think the Bengals organization is a complete laughing stock. I don't care if you think that they have their quarterback. They are an embarrassment. And the Browns front office and ownership is an embarrassment as well. I'm being fair here. I don't care that the Browns made the playoffs. I don't care that they beat the Steelers in the playoffs. I don't care that they had a chance to beat the defending Super Bowl champions at the time in the playoffs. The front office is still a joke until you convince the fans that, hey, well, we built this team all off of a lot of draft picks because we were bad. Can you sustain it? Can you keep it up? But I think that they are just good enough right now to check off all the boxes for J.J. Watt. I don't think this is about the Haslams. I think this is about their general manager. I think this is about the coach of the year, by the way. I think it's about having the quarterback. I think it's about having the weapons, Kev, not just on offense, but on defense. Playing alongside Myles Garrett on that same defensive line. I mean, that is huge. Mm-hmm. I think of all the teams out there, the only team that makes the most sense, that checks off every box, there's only one team, and that is the Cleveland Browns.
It reminds me of a situation that when DeMarcus Ware went to the Denver Broncos and they had Von Miller on one side. You could do something like that. That's what that could be. That could be TJ Watt. That could be JJ Watt and Myles Garrett 2.0. Like, their defense was official because those two rush ends caused so much havoc.
They let 80-year-old Peyton Manning in a wheelchair to a Super Bowl. That's all. I mean, like, that's. But
you got that tight. You got two Hall of Fame pass rushers like that. You going places.
So that's all I'm saying. The Cleveland Browns, really, honestly, and I'm not just doing a homer take here. This is based on J.J. Watt's criteria. He needs a team that has a quarterback. Check. He needs a team that has personnel and weapons. Check. They have the coach of the year. They have a general manager that literally is he's hitting a very high average right now as far as the decision-making goes. They have weapons galore. They have Myles Garrett. They have Denzel Ward. They have holes in the defense they need to fill, but you put J.J. Watt alongside Myles Garrett, you draft a linebacker, you get one in free agency, hopefully health plays a role in getting Delpit and Greedy Williams back along with Denzel Ward, and now you have J.J. Watt and Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns are the only team that makes sense. The only team. Now, you could talk about Tampa, but Tampa doesn't need to – they don't need to unleash anything. They need to bring Shaq Barrett back. They're going to bring Ndamukong Suh back. It's not that they don't want J.J. Watt, but they don't need J.J. Watt. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. They don't need him. Kansas City would have to finagle some things to get it done. The only team that makes the most sense, that would take the least work possible for both sides, is Cleveland. J.J. Watt can go into Cleveland, and if he can just forget about Cleveland as a whole – and just think about who Cleveland is now in the moment, this makes all the sense in the world. J.J. Watt to the Cleveland Browns. Book it. But it makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense. And it makes even more sense now that we know that J.J. Watt is not asking for $16 million a year. If the Browns can get him for $8 to $9 million, get it done. Get it done. No doubt in my mind. Get it done. He will be a Cleveland Brown.
Let me mark this time.
I based it off of his criteria.
I'm just saying. Just in case you're wrong.
I'm never wrong. Vincent Waller says people are talking like they are going to be getting prime J.J. Watt. He is still good, but no longer great. The Bills make sense just as much as the Browns. They don't have the cap, Vincent. Like I agree with you. And by the way, let me ask you this, by the way. Baker Mayfield versus Josh Allen. 3 years into the league, now heading into year 4. Who has been the most impressive?
Man, that year by Josh Allen was amazing. It was amazing that what he did. So if you're just playing like, oh man, Baker had 2 good years, he only had 1, you could play that game. But just based off of what I saw from Josh Allen, I would go with Josh Allen. If I had to start a quarterback situation based off of those two, I would go with Josh Allen.
So for me, it's Baker Mayfield as a whole. You know what you get with him now. Like the first year, when you have everything in place, he thrived. Year 2, things weren't in place. Not a lot of quarterbacks were going to thrive. I mean, who thrives in a bad situation? You want to see how guys come out of it on the other side. Baker not only came out of it on the other side, he had a fantastic season and was one of the main reasons why they even got to the playoffs and beat Pittsburgh to begin with and had a chance to beat Kansas City. So to me, I'm taking Baker. My point is in all of that is, so when you ask if Buffalo has a quarterback, there's a reason that there's a lot of doubt in Buffalo whether or not they're going to make sure that he gets his money right away. Carson Wentz, ring a bell? Carson Wentz also only had 1 good year. Baker's already had more good years than Carson Wentz. Josh Allen might be the next Carson Wentz. You never know. J.J. Watt to Cleveland. Book it. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Paid for by Protect My Car. Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary. Call for details.
These days, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV made from $19.99 or higher, you could stop paying for car repairs. That's right. You might not have to pay a penny to have it repaired. Just call 800-998-0633 now to see if you qualify. You must have an automobile made from $19.99 or higher, and all repairs for your engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past. Call 800-998-0633 today and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. That's right, total protection for your car and no more repair bills. Plus, call 800-998-0633 right now and get free roadside assistance, free towing, free car rental, and free oil changes. Call 800-998-0633 right now to see if your car qualifies. That's 800-998-0633. Never pay for car repairs again. Just call 800-998-0633. 800-998-0633.
The 2021 Honda Pioneer lineup is here to make light work of the job and add a heavy dose of fun to your day off. Every Pioneer side-by-side is stock full of smart technology, responsive power, and Honda's hallmark of engineering excellence. The only thing left to add is you. Then you'll understand how life is better on a Honda. For your safety, read the owner's manual, wear a helmet and eye protection, always wear your seatbelt, and keep the side nets and doors closed. Pioneers are for drivers 16 years and older.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
You heard that safe drivers get rewarded with Snapshot from Progressive, so you went online to check it out. But then you saw an ad for a vintage baseball cap, and now you find yourself checking the stats of that team's second baseman in '97, wondering why his stolen base total dropped after his rookie season. Wonder how much his rookie card is worth. Yes, they said it was easy to save money with Snapshot from Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. If you have concerns about your tax return, we invite you to discover how we can make your tax filing experience easier. If you had a difficult experience in the past, our professional staff can provide the accurate return you want with maximum use of all legitimate deductions. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a trusted name and stands behind your return if the IRS calls. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at lairdstax.com.
Love Bob Evans for breakfast? Feed the whole crew with a fresh, cracked family meal to go. Serves up to 6 for as low as $3.99 per person.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kenner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kenner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kenner.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kenner. He's Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN college basketball analyst Jay Bilas tweeted this out the other day, saying, I think it's past time for a shot clock. What an embarrassment. Well, it caught my attention. I clicked on the article. And the Alabama high school basketball playoffs have started, and an Alabama high school basketball playoff game ended with a final score of 6-4. Stall ball was the name of the game in an Alabama high school basketball playoff game this past Wednesday, as Parker High School and Carver High School combined for 10 points in a 6-4 final. Parker wins. Now, keep in mind, I mean, that's a good game. It's a 2-point game. It's a 1-possession game. It came down to the final minute. I don't know what you people are so disappointed about. Anyways, now, and this is funny, Parker senior Keith Body knocked down the game-winning jumper. I mean, I could just picture the place going crazy, you know? He knocked down the game-winning jumper with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining, breaking a 4-4 tie. Unbelievable. What a game.
Just like LeBron step back 3 to win it, huh?
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this amazing playoff caliber game right there. Well, not caliber. It was a playoff game. It was exactly what you want in the playoffs, a good defensive battle. Back and forth, once a half, a game-winning jumper, down to the final minute. And a 4-4 tie was broken by Parker senior Keith Body, who knocked down the game-winning jumper with 1:10 remaining, breaking the 4-4 tie. Keep in mind, Parker, they already defeated Carver twice during the regular season, including a 19-point blowout back in December. Carver entered the playoff matchup struggling mightily. I mean, I don't know about 4 points in a game mightily, but struggling mightily, losing its last 3 games by 20 points or more. Well, good news. You Yeah, played a close one. Carver entered the game averaging 66 points per game, while Parker averaged 50 points a game. And I would say that both defenses came out on top, really holding both teams to well below their season averages. Unbelievable. So you're starting to see all the tweets come out. Anyone else see this type of score in high school basketball? Last night, Parker beat Carver 6-4 on a last-second shot. By the way, that's not a last-second shot if there's a minute 10. Actually, I think in a 6-4 final, a minute 10 left, that is a last-second shot, right? Because you knew, hey, a minute 10, we're not going to get another shot off anyways. But they advanced. Okay, I don't really care about the teams necessarily, but the final score 6-4. Now, Jay Bilas tweets out that a shot clock, it's time for a shot clock. What an embarrassment. And I'm here to tell you that if I went to bed tonight and I woke up to the news that a shot clock was implemented in the state of Ohio, okay, fine. I'm not. This isn't a hill I'm trying to die on here. I really don't care one way or another. But I'm telling you right now, if this is the reason why you want a shot clock, I think that's foolish. I don't think that, because the game ended 6-4, that's why you need a shot clock. Mm-hmm. Because if the reason you want a shot clock is because that 6-4 final was ugly, then you shouldn't get a shot clock. Because if you think that a shot clock is going to make the game pretty, it's actually going to do the opposite. Because there are maybe 5% of teams in the state of Ohio that are good enough to play good, decent, beautiful basketball with the shot clock. And I don't know what I would rather watch, a 6-4 final or a 35-28 final with a combined 40 turnovers. I'm being dramatic a little with the turnovers, but I have seen some bad basketball. I come from an area that I played. I've come from Van Wert, Ohio. Stall ball galore. Okay. Stall ball galore. The not really necessarily my team at the time. Yes, when I was in high school, our coach at the time ran a lot of stall ball. It was a lot of motion, pass, pick away, screen. It was pass, pick away, V cut, curl to the top, all that, and then you're just taking time off. We ran into teams like Upper Sandusky with John Diebler at the time. Averaged 40 points a game. We held him to 24. That was a season low for him. That was the same year he dropped 80, I believe, at a time. We held him to 24 points, and everyone's like, "You guys held him to 24. You guys shut him down." I'm like, "We held the ball. We didn't stop anything. We held the ball, and ultimately we did stop him. You kept him from going off." Now, some other guy named Alex Falk, their point guard, goes off for 28 and ruined the whole damn thing, so it just ruined it. But the point is that holding the ball, still there is a beauty to it within these lines of, there's a strategy involved. You could say holding the ball is not strategy. Holding the ball is not strategy, but passing, ball movement, running motion. Not saying I like that. I'm just saying I'll take that over what a shot clock is going to force. There's a lot of teams, real quick. There's a lot of teams that run motion, that do the pass and pick away, that just hold on to the ball. And a lot of that is because they don't have the skill to keep up with the other team. The team that basically held the ball the whole time, that had lost 3 straight by 20, not a very good basketball team. They held the ball because they weren't good enough to do anything else with it. I'm telling you right now, there's maybe a handful of teams, and I think over time teams adjust and get used to it. But if you are going to implement a shot clock because you thought that 6-4 final was ugly, and you don't want ugly basketball, then you don't want a shot clock. Because I think the shot clock makes high school basketball very close to being unwatchable for 85 to 90% of the games that would go on every Friday night throughout the high school basketball season. There are a lot of very good teams in Dayton that I think could handle playing with the shot clock. But sometimes you got to make a decision that's based on the entire body of work and not a select few teams. A shot clock would only help a select few teams. I think it would. I don't think a shot clock fixes ugly basketball. I think it creates even uglier basketball, to be honest with you.
A couple things. You're right. Holding the ball is you're right about a couple things. Holding the ball is a strategy. We were talking about behind the scenes or whatever, like don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Well, the coach is just simply implementing a tactic that is legal. It's legal to hold the ball. You can't tell us not to hold the ball. Yeah, we got the 5-second count. We get around that by passing it 4 corners, all that stuff. The strategy is not wrong. You do what you got to do to win. I mean, I remember a Super Bowl where the New York Giants beat the Buffalo Bills, one of the most high potent offenses that we ever seen with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and the K-gun. They did that by running Otis Anderson like 50 times, the ground and pound. Like, that's a strategy. So I necessarily don't have a problem with the strategy. I do have a problem with the outcome. Well, not even the outcome, because if my kid was on the team and they won, I would be happy. But I do think that if you do implement a shot clock in high school basketball all across the country, I think you not only teach the game to the kids more, and kids are smart. They adapt. They'll adapt. And I think it is a learning tool to basically everybody's playing under the same rules. Like everybody has a shot clock. They have a shot clock in college. They have a shot clock in the NBA. Like, and then if you bring that to the high school ranks, and we talked about this before. I was a proponent of this when we were talking about it before, about putting a shot clock everywhere. And I think the NBA and the NBA Players Union should pay for it. Because, hey man, this is the game that y'all love, right? This is where you guys came from. You all came from the high school ranks, right? So give back to all the high schools across the country and buy them a dang on shot clock. That's how I feel about it. And I think
it's like Draymond said, they're horrible. They're awful.
So I think that would be a great thing for the league to do, to buy all the shot clocks and have a NBA player go out to a school and, cut the ribbon and all that good stuff. I think that would be a good look for the NBA. But the shot clock in general, I think the kids can adapt. I think kids can adapt to a new situation. And we talk about like, okay, so you talk about the level of competition. Like obviously we have, less talented schools playing Troutwood and things of that nature. And they're getting, the good old 160 to 20 beat down and everything like that. Can it even get any worse than that with a shot clock? I'm seriously asking, like, can it get worse than it already does?
But if you're doing something to make it better, it needs to make it better. And if it's just going to create a whole other level of ugly, I mean, you're going to have higher scores, but again, 35 to 28 in a high school game is technically better than 6-4. But watch the basketball game. If you're, and for those listening that you're just box score or Twitter followers of high school scores, your opinion doesn't matter, because I'm talking about the people that go to watch these games. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of teams. I go to the state tournament every year. God, it's been a few years. I missed it. You didn't get to go last year. Not going to get. They're not going to do it this year, but it's not going to be the same. But like those teams that make it there, they're really good. They can handle playing with the shot clock. The Fly into the Hoop high school basketball showcase that that Eric puts on every year, which is it's disappointing they didn't have it this year. But those teams clearly good enough to play with the shot clock. But Kev, if you are saying that the NBA needs to put a shot clock in for high schoolers because overall it benefits them big picture, you got to understand of the high school, and I have it right here in front of me, and this is on the NCAA.org website. As far as high school participants, the percent of high school basketball players that will go on to play in college is 1.7%. So why, if I'm the NBA, am I going to waste any money on high school basketball to put in shot clocks for high school basketball as a whole, when only 1.7% of those are going to make it to college, and an even tinier percent of those are going to ultimately make it to the NBA? So again, like I told, I'm not on the anti-shot clock side. All I'm saying is I don't really care one way or another. I know what you're saying. College basketball has it. NBA has it. The pros overseas have it, everything. But high school is high school. It's its own thing. And to me, it doesn't bother me one way or another. That 6-4 thing, I found it funny. Oh, it's hilarious. But it stood out. But you don't see that every Friday night. That's rare. And if that happened all the time, that wouldn't have been a story. It would have just been another Friday night. It doesn't happen that often. People aren't holding the ball like that every single week. You're going to come across a bad team or two that will pull a stunt like that. Then some teams get desperate come tournament time. And when it's win or go home, you're going to do whatever the hell you got to do to avoid going home.
That's for sure. I mean, we got the 24-second clock in the NBA, 35 in college. So there's 8-minute quarters in high school. What's a good number for a shot clock in high school? 45 seconds?
I mean, but at that point, let me be clear here. Even the slowest teams aren't holding the ball for 40 seconds at a time. Like, let's say a team that comes by, a stall ball approach. We would come down, like when and again, I'm not trying to do this. When I was our school was known for being a very slow it down, methodical offense, motion, pass, pick away. I mean, even fans in our own town couldn't stand it. They hated that style, but it worked and we won a lot of basketball games. So with that being said, even on a slower possession, we're not passing and picking away for 40 seconds. I mean, you're probably taking 30 seconds, 35. I don't want a 35-second shot clock in high school. I think it'll speed it up. It'll be too fast because even though you have 35 seconds to score, you have 20 seconds to run your offense and 10 seconds to pee down your leg and just heave up a shot to get it off before the shot clock goes. Like, it totally changes how you approach running an offense. So my thing is the reason I don't think it's necessary either is even the slower teams in regards to running their offense don't even take 40 seconds to get a shot up. The quicker paced teams come down, dribble, pass, pick away, come off a screen, boom, they shoot. They're probably shooting 12 to 15 seconds on average into a possession. The slower teams are shooting 30 to 35 seconds into a possession. So I don't think you need a shot clock. I just think that there's those teams that those scores get noticed more. Again, a shot clock happens. I'm fine with it. I'm just saying it's not like, oh man, high school basketball needs it. That's all.
We got DoorDash Ray on the line.
DoorDash Ray, what up, man? How are you?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, did Kevin tell you earlier that you were right?
Yeah, not bad considering 24 hours ago I thought we were going to break up the show. I mean, not bad at all.
Unbelievable. Hey, I got some news for you. I'm driving with Mrs. DoorDash.
Oh, look at that tag team. There we go.
We're actually headed to my daughter's high school basketball game, and it's interesting you brought the shot clock because my wife is of the opinion that we need it. Isn't that right, honey?
Yes, absolutely.
There we go. There we go. Now, and again, and so let me ask you, Mrs. DoorDash, what are your reasons for why you think we need a shot clock?
Oh, damn! Come on, dude.
She doesn't understand it's radio. Let's go. Come on.
Oh.
Look at DoorDash Ray, keeping her in check. Look at him.
I just think it just keeps everything going faster. It's more exciting.
And that's fair enough. And thank you guys. We do got to keep moving. I appreciate the call. Thank you. So Mrs. DoorDash Ray says we need a shot clock because it keeps things going. It keeps the tempo going, which, by the way, that is the reason. She's spot on. That is the reason why. The problem is you got to understand, oh, man, I hate watching slow it down basketball. Have you watched speeded up basketball? And I don't mean with the good teams, with the bad teams. The bad teams are the ones doing the super slow it down because they can't play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I'm trying to say is, like, would it help? I think it would help a lot of the good I mean, we around here who don't have kids in high school, we're going to go to the good basketball games.
Right.
We're going to go watch the teams that would use the shot clock at a high level. But there's parents of kids who play on bad teams. You're the ones that are going to suffer, not me and Kev. For you parents out there that have kids playing on bad basketball teams, can you help me out here? Do you understand what I'm saying when I say putting a shot clock on your son or daughter's horrible basketball team is going to make it unbearable? Do you understand?
They're definitely calling in now.
So, right, though? Like, that's all I'm trying to say is, like, a shot clock would help. But if you're talking about the NBA needs to help high schoolers get shot clocks because it ultimately helps them big picture, only 1.7% of high school basketball players go on to play college athletics, and an even tinier percent of them end up ultimately going on to make it pro.
I would say this about, we're talking about shot clocks and everything like that. Men's college basketball, get it together, yo. You have halves. You're the only basketball league or whatever you want to call it that plays halves. High school has quarters. The pros have quarters. Women's college basketball has quarters. Why are you still playing halves? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I thought that they were when women's college basketball transitioned to quarters. I thought that was like a testing it out for to switch over to the men's side. But it's been like 4 years now.
Yeah.
I call the games for Wright State women's basketball. It's been quarters for quite a few years now, and the men aren't going there. Again, like I said, I'm not losing sleep over halves and quarters,
man.
But but no, there's more reasons why it should be quarters and not halves, just because everyone else is doing it. So there you go. Michael Green on Facebook says, as a parent of a son playing for Division 4 team, a bad Division 4 team, I think a shot clock would be great. Damn it, Michael.
Yeah, Mike.
I think it actually would cut down on the turnovers because instead of passing it around, you'll turn it, you're forced to shoot. All right. I don't disagree with
more air balls, but
the problem is and I totally understand where he's coming from with that, because I think what he's saying is the bad teams who like to run the motion and run the offense a lot, ultimately more times than not, you try to run the offense to get the shot you want, and half the time you turn it over and don't even get a shot off. The shot clock would force them to shoot quicker into the set. Okay, I could see that, but at the same time, if your team's bad, can you imagine one pass and shoot? Who's going to get that shot?
This guy.
And then if you're a bad team playing a good team with the shot clock and you take shots too early in the shot clock and you're bad, that's the thing. You're going to see even more blowouts. because the gap in talent between teams, you can close it a tad or control it when you can hold on to the basketball a little more. When the shot clock is forcing the bad teams to shoot and they keep missing and missing and the good team keeps getting the ball. I've watched Trotwood beat teams by 90 and almost 100. I've got destroyed. I don't anymore. I don't bash it anymore. But a few years ago, they beat a team like 130 to like 40 or something like that. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's totally uncalled for in high school. And, I sound all get off my lawn type guy. But it was ridiculous.
200 if it's a shot clock?
But it would be even worse. I don't want Trotwood to get more possessions. Now, for them, it's a great thing. When again, the Flying to the Hoop high school basketball showcase, when you watch those teams and people come out and say, oh, yeah, they need a shot clock, I agree. They need a shot clock. Those are talented teams, skilled players. Good chunk of those guys are going to go play at the next level. Yes, they need a shot clock. But take one of those teams and go find a horrible team here in the Miami Valley and put them on the same floor. And like I said, we've watched Trotwood with the Marty Davis in the past and some others who just blitz teams, beat them by 90, and that's with the shot clock, without a shot clock. And those bad teams had every right to hold on to that damn ball, and you morons kept shooting it and letting them go. And the shot clock would make it even worse. There you go.
I'm trying to see history, man.
We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's